has no walls. Christopher Lopoli, traveling at night. Hello, everybody. It's Wednesday, which means that we have more Cultist Simulator ahead of us. I've been looking forward to this, although I'm quite tired tonight. I think some of you who've been tracking my day-to-day life, the work situation sort of took a turn for the worse. But that is why we play video games, and specifically why we play this video game, because it is all about the tension between the things that you would rather do and the things that you need to do. As always, I like to start off with a quick description of who is responsible, and a major reason for that is because they are all incredibly active on social media, and they're really lovely people. So we've got design, writing, and coding by Alexis Kennedy, production, marketing, and biz by Lottie Bevan, UI design and coding by Martin Nerukar, art by Catherine Unger, Clockwork Cuckoo, Lottie Bevan and Sarah Gordon, music, Mary Beth Solomon, Brent Barkman, Mickey Erb from Mickey Mar Productions Limited. I believe they are Canadians. Audio by Soundcuts, additional coding by Chris Payne and Fraser McCormick, additional design by Calling Porter. Special thanks to Sonia and PK, Matt Hosty, Haley, Urias, and literally everyone who has ever sent feedback or a bug report. Thank you. If you are interested in following these people on Twitter, I believe it is at Alexis Kennedy, at Tron Bevan, at, I believe it's M. Nerukar. I actually looked this up before cast and then I lost it, so I'm going to take a quick minute here and see. Yes, it is M-N-E-R-U-R-K-A-R. So you already know Alexis and Lottie's game. If you are curious, it is about Martin's game. It is Nowhere Profit. You can play it. Honestly, you probably should just visit his Twitter account and you can get all the links there. But Nowhere Profit is also a card-driven game. I would say closer to FTL than it is Cultist Simulator. But fortunately, the world is a very broad and exciting place. And so you will be able to accommodate more than one card game in your life, and they will all be very good. I have very much enjoyed Nowhere Profit. If you'd like to help support the development, you can get it on itch right now, and if you get it on itch, you will be given a Steam key on release. At least I believe that is still the case. Obviously, be sure to check the pages of any of the things that you buy to make sure that you are actually getting what you're expecting. Clockwork Cuckoo, I believe, is on Twitter. Sarah Gordon definitely is, at Sarah Gordon. I think Mary Beth Solomon liked a tweet I put out once. The further we get down this list, the less certain I am. I do believe Calling Porter is on Twitter, and Haley Urias definitely is. You may know her better as the person responsible for marketing at Fail Better Games. So, anyways, I'd like to say, one of the major reasons why I like to focus on the responsibilities on this one is that Weather Factory has done a really great job of sort of leveraging the things that make independent games interesting. So there's been a lot of talk about very big studios, and particularly the work conditions at very big studios. Whether it is Red Dead Redemption 2, which by pretty much every review that I have heard is saying that it's a very good game and that all of the effort really is on display there, and yet people are very reasonably questioning whether or not the time that people worked is proper, and whether or not the conditions under which they were asked to work that extra time really counts as a choice. And then, of course, this is going to be something I hope I can finish writing before the end of the day. There was the announced closure of Telltale Games and the outpouring of support for those developers. But one of the big things about very big games is that it is easy to miss sort of that micro level. it's harder to connect with individuals. And usually when you do connect with individuals at this scale of game, it tends to be you look for the superstars. Hello, Smishet. On display but not in gameplay for Cowboy Simulator? Where I'm basically going with a lot of this is that, hello, Hidden Citizen. I've got, so I don't know if I have like an IMDb credit on it, but I did work on Battlestar Galactica and Stargate and a couple of other television shows that you may have seen or at least have probably heard of. Now, nobody really cares about my opinion on these shows. You know, usually if you're, you know, if you're looking for Battlestar, it's going to be like Ron Moore or David Icke, or, you know, basically you're looking for the star, or, you know, you want to hear a story about like Edward James Olmos or something like that. And that's fine. I mean, that's the sort of thing we get attracted to, but obviously, even when we're talking about intensely personal things, just the sheer scale of these kinds of conversations, it's very easy to miss out on the individuals behind it. And that's a shame, right? Because if you know, you can even take the model of Cultist Simulator, you know, the individual at Glover and Glover, that can be you at Rockstar, and Mr. Alden is definitely very active. You know, I'm sure everybody who worked on Red Dead Redemption 2 had and has very big ambitions in terms of the contribution that they will make in terms of gaming and in terms of creating entertainment products. And I'm not entirely sure that, you know, whoever had to create, you know, a system for the snow, or somebody who spent the time creating all of the bushes and plants, I'm not necessarily sure that that's quite consistent with the way that they would imagine where their career would be at the beginning. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a failure or anything like that, but it's not always easy to recognize these individual stories, even if you see them in the credits. So this is a really long way of introducing the fact that Weather Factory is not a big studio. Weather Factory is run by two people, and the game is the product of a lot of contractors who are very talented, and of course the two people bringing together all these factors of production. And one of the things that has made this game so rewarding is not just the experience of playing it on its own, but I really do feel that the experience of Cultist Simulator has been following the story of Weather Factory. Everything from seeing a little bit of an alpha put out and streaming that before Mr. Kennedy went on his Ronin year, looking at fun stories of the time when Lottie had a latte for the first time, and the resulting exchange of tweets that came out of it. You know, it's really interesting to be able to see these two people present so much of their personality to the world, and see that reflected in the game as well. And so it's always really encouraging. You know, when things go well for Cultist Simulator, I get to feel really happy, and when things don't go as planned, you know, I feel a little bad, and I hope that things turn out well. And that is a great example of a studio that has taken its small size and has turned that into a major advantage, rather than these other ones. It's almost the opposite of what you would think, right? Where somebody who's maybe smaller and insecure of themselves maybe wants to try and like put an extra effort into being professional. And it's not to imply that Weather Factory has ever been unprofessional in their conduct, but there is just so much personality that comes through the blog updates, through the newsletters, through the Kickstarter updates, all of these things that, you know, it's one of the reasons why I like spending this time on the credits and talking about the game, because to me the Weather Factory, or the Cultist Simulator and the Weather Factory experience has been a lot of things. It's been following it through the Kickstarter, it's been looking at the different betas, it's been submitting bug reports, which I need to get on top of with the new patch. I wasn't doing any of the Gata Horn stuff, so my notes were less helpful, but now I need to get back on that horse. And watching things like the dev streams, and most importantly, the experience of being able to share this game with people, whether it's, you know, at the mythical gamer bar that I always refer to in Ottawa. For those of you who don't know, who ever have a chance to visit Ottawa, the Blurry Pixel. And for those of you who never visit Ottawa, but have friends who are doing it, I'm sure they will appreciate the patronage. They do a very good job of supporting the game when they can, and getting people to come into the the cult world. But yeah, even just being able to talk about the game with people, it's really wonderful because it is a game which is played in isolation at the desk. You know, you're alone with your cards, and yet it is so interesting to have so much of the experience be tied into these personalities and being able to share the game with people. So anyways, K5, hello to you. Happy Halloween to you yourself. And Mr. Pones, hello to you as well. We've got lots of bodies in the channel. Apparently somebody subscribed while I was on that big rant, but it didn't give any kind of an alert. So whoever decided to subscribe, thank you. And I'm sure you want to remain anonymous for a reason. So we are going to jump back in to our... I'll leave it to you to decide whether or not their name is Roland, or if we go for this great continental Roland. I have, however, forgotten where we left it, because I figured I'll get the babbling out of the way right away. It's always funny to see. I was actually, so for those of you who are watching on YouTube, thank you for your understanding comments with regards to the extended digressions. I do actually get very amused when there is really positive responses, and there's that one guy who thumbs down, gives it the thumbs down, because you know it's not even about the digressions, it's specifically about where I stand on the regressions. And I love pissing people like that off. And if you were pissed off by that, just know that I'm happy that you pissed off. And if you're mad that I'm happy that you're pissed off, hit that dislike button again. Anyway, I do need to figure out where we're at. So I believe we're 1 point of despair. We have fascination coming up. We can hire a hireling, and it will be a hulking fellow, but I don't have any need for a hulking fellow, and Roland is a nice fellow who has not harmed anyone yet. Where's the dislike button? It makes you so angry that you're happy. There's a secret about that, Innocent Citizen, but I'd rather not say it on this video. So, should make a YouTube account just to thumbs down System Chalk videos to make me happy. It's not that I'm happy about them. It's I'm amused by them. Well, I guess I did say I'm happy. I am happy. I am not happy till those people are not happy. It's not that I want to maximize the number of dislikes. It's that I want to piss off a very particular kind of person, and them letting me know that they are pissed off is a very big reward. Schadenfreude indeed, Benoit. How you doing? I leave it to the Germans to have that wonderful word. I love the fact there's that word in Japanese that means owning too many books that you've never read and apparently getting more or something like that. That's another wonderful one. Okay, so what am I going to do with my activities? So I definitely have work available to me, so let's take a quick look at... So the Gaiety, I have 90 seconds. Nicole and Lord Timothy are free. And I kind of have a little bit of everything available to me, so I don't need to worry so much about resources. So let's make Nicole happy. I think what we'll probably do is we'll take care of Nicole, we'll take care of the our regular work. Then Timothy, then we'll consider we'll consider the Ictasis Club, but of course I believe we need to wait for a season of ambitions to make our Temptation of Change move up, so I still need to figure out how that works, because I spent too much time talking rather than playing the game last time, so... what is so Benoit, what is that word, and what does it mean? You once had a YouTube channel where you highly encourage people to dislike your vids. Never had so many likes. Now they're just toying with you. As far as studying is concerned, let's think a little bit about what we want to do. So the best case for me is if I can get another, lesson learnt from the Glimmering. The catch is that if one of my patrons wants me to use my... Oh, you know what? They won't want me to use my passion for 45 seconds, so I'll be good for that. It's a word for extreme shut-ins, a common problem in Japan. I've heard about that, Ben. I don't know that much about... oh yeah, I should do the reading of this. I've heard about that, but I'm not that familiar with Japan, so I don't have a lot to say about... Like, I don't really know what's going on there and why that's such a problem. Okay. So... Garments surrendered. The Malachite has taught me that the naked self is not the true self, but it is less of a lie. In the season of ambitions, this can upgrade your change desire. Maybe that problem will arrive now that Amazon is so good. I should, of course, be considering some means of getting contentment. Possibly painting is a way that I can do that. Nap to recover from fatigue. I am refreshed. Always a good idea there. Now, I don't believe I have any lore, so I can't pursue the Mansis. As far as dreaming is concerned, I don't think there's a lot that I can really accomplish yet, so we'll wait there. The Eyes of Sin. Lovely to see you, as always. Well, regrettably, I don't get to see you, but it is very nice to see your presence in chat. I hope you are feeling very well. I know I caught you when you were, you just got out of bed, so I don't know, how much better you're feeling since then, but I hope you are having a good day. Tonight I danced and laughed, and I was charming with my benefactor and delightful with our guests. Everyone is happy to have a little something enough to live on for a good while, so we got lucky on this one. It's actually a shame that we don't have Glover and Glover. However, I'm going to perform at the Gaiety Theatre again, and now I will recover from my fatigue by napping. K5 says, so you did a thing and bought Red Dead, and you usually stay away from AAA titles. Feels weird, but tonight you return to your morally ambiguous cowboy roots. I mean, I don't feel too bad. I know there's some people who are questioning, for lack of a better term, the ethics of buying Red Dead. I don't think I can quite put myself in that boat, although I have sympathy for that position. But I'm not gonna lie, like, I like indie stuff like this, but I gobble up, big, exciting games. I really love playing stuff like... wait a minute, I have to have lore. How did I found the Temple Unceasing if I don't have lore? Am I going nuts? But yeah, I don't know, like, I love big, entertaining, you know, huge games, so it definitely, I think it catches people by surprise how much I like stuff like Doom or, you know, or a new Wolfenstein game or something like that, but I don't know, they're fun. I like a good yarn, and that can come in many different forms. Casual Nothing, good to see you playing the game that brought me to your stream. Yeah, oh, we're back to Wednesday Cultist Simulator. I am taking my time in playing the game. I am doing a lot of talking, and it's not always relevant to Cultist Simulator, but I am going to do... I know I'm not on a good start with this now, but I am making a little bit of an effort to be a bit more on topic this time around. Although, again, I know everybody was very kind in their comments about... Oh, you know what? I know why. It's because I used the lore to find a patron. I am a little... I'm not gonna turn away an opportunity to discuss other things, but I'm not going to actively seek out more opportunities to not cover this game. So... Eyes of Sin has been running errands all day. I'm sorry to hear it. I hope you get a chance to kick back, rest, enjoy the game. Eyes of Sin really likes the Red Dead series. Everything aside, you like the idea of being a rough and tough cowpoke. Yeah, I've never played them, and I also don't have a console, so the only one I would be able to play is number 2, I believe. I'm definitely interested in covering the Resident Evil games. I've never played a single one of them. And Halloween has struck the system. Yeah, I didn't intend for this to be a Halloween game, but it's a really appropriate one, so... Oh, and... what else? Johnny Big Time, how are you doing? This is quite possibly going to be your favorite game. I feel like this is really up your alley. It's like the XCOM of video games. Crowded thoroughfares by day, a fog-wrapped labyrinth by night. I'll send my minions out searching for opportunities. So I will be doing some introductions. I'll let you guys know ahead of time that there are some wonderful streamers in the channel right now. We've got K5, Johnny Big Time, and the Eyes of Sin. But I'll do my big proper shout-outs a little bit later on so that we can get some progress on our run here. I think I'm gonna study the Passion again, just so I can make some progress. Oh, this is going to be a liability, so... Looks like we've got another overlooked place. And we have found Moreland's shop, so we've got something that we can spend this money on now, which is good. We've always been able to buy things at Oriflamme's, of course, but... let's visit the strange streets by midnight. Sometimes the light of the moon is a key to other places. I found a place where, for a night or two, the streets curve in unfamiliar ways. If I walk here, I might find insight, or I might be touched by madness. Alright. Refreshed from the fatigue. Could use my passion to dream, but it's not guaranteed that I would get something. It's not really guaranteed that I'd get something good out of it. So the stage awaits, hot and clean and bare and bright. If I move the moves and step the steps and do what is required, they'll pay me. So what I think I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take the money. I'm going to dream to get my health back. I'm going to deal with the restlessness by painting. That'll allow me to extend my mystique, but not extend my notoriety, although I don't necessarily want to extend either, because for some reason I thought we had the detective show up, but I will use my restlessness as inspiration. And then Lord Timothy should be taken care of in that time. So, the patron, we can learn from each other. More mystique. Got my thunderous secret back. And Madame Bichet, a new mentor. Let's see what the good madam wants. She is seeking pieces for the notorious Kersham Review. Hello, Green Whisper. Good to see you. I think I'm going to have to rearrange. Maybe we'll make this the mentor. We'll make this sort of the mentor area, and then this will be the patron area. Visions pass me with Pavane grace, a window over wood, a garden of ice, a shivering sun, a woman of glass. I return home reluctantly. Alright, so this might turn into something troublesome, I can't recall. Let's get the pawn to... Actually, you know what? No, let's get some books. because I'm gonna be running short of things to do with my study. Got a new job that's been taking up all of your time. Well, I definitely appreciate that. It's not a bad theme to consider in light of Cultist Simulator. But as I'm always fond of saying, you should take care of yourself first. And there's always VODs, there's always other opportunities to stop by. But I do appreciate, I think, especially given the fact that time is so precious for you, that you're spending it with us, and particularly with Cultist Simulator, which I enjoy so much. So I hope you enjoy the new job, even if it's taking a lot of your time. And for those of you, I'm curious, have any of you wound up playing the Dancer, or are you all living vicariously through my experience? Let's see, I should probably be let's keep talking about the Thunderous Secret. I don't have too much to do with that right now, so. Alright, Colors of the Night. I could spend money on better paints, or perhaps I could find more exotic pigments. I think I'll just pay for the regular paints. I've gotten sick, but we should be able to take care of that either through money or vitality. Of course, I'm going to need to make sure that Lord Timothy is taken care of, even if I'm feeling a little under the weather. So, you love the new job. You've already had a promotion. That's awesome to hear, Green Whisper. And I've got some more sentimental literature. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to combine the two glimmering into the lesson learned. So there's the outside chance that Moreland is going to give us a book of poetry, and if that happens, then we'll be good for upgrading our passion. If not, it'll be a little bit of a waste, but it's nice to get a chance to. And we got a collection of essays. So we'll head back, we'll bring some money to Moreland's, and we'll keep building our library. It's an exceptional work. It's a lot of mystique. Well, at least give the detective something to think about. Okay. Lord Timothy needs to be taken care of first, so we'll pay up for the glamour. I'll make sure we have at least one passion or one reason available, or one health, of course. And then I think in the study we'll see. I think for the study I'll just chuck a health inside there, and we'll get the free vitality. Should be keeping an eye on what happens to the subtle fracture. I don't think there's anything that I can do about this, but and it turns into a subtle flaw. Alright, another collection of essays, so be it. Very unlikely now that we're going to be able to upgrade that passion, but we'll see. And we have an acquaintance. Come with me. My benefactor would be delighted if I'd offer a private performance for a small and refined audience. They'll invite me to dinner afterwards, and of course offer suitable gifts in return for my time. Now, this is what we've been waiting for. So what hungers crave us? As a reminder, for those who are present, or maybe weren't here last week, on certain nights before the audience, there's a wing lift of something more. And what more could I become? And this is basically the new victory that the Dancer DLC added in. Okay, we'll take this affliction aside. I need to keep an eye on the contract at the Gaiety, because that's going to be going away. Oh God, I got a lot of demands on my time, actually. So the temptation of change. I long to be something else, but I've learned. Have I learned the lesson that I need before the witnesses that I must have? There are more windows in my soul, but sunlight is not the only thing that passes through the window. Use a lesson learnt with your imagination skill. Now, I believe I need 3 to upgrade. Oh, no, I don't. Okay, so we'll combine those. That means that I'm going to need to spend the money to upgrade to restore my health. So we'll use that right now. And I need to consider how I'm going to divide my attention amongst my... I do kind of feel like I need to keep Nicole happy. So tonight my benefactor is full of energy, and I should be too. So I think that means the contract at the Gaiety is going to go away, or at the very least be penalized. But we should get a higher return from the Markianus. All right, we've got the 6 letters of necessity, so that's good news for us because we'll finally start getting some more lore. In this case, I think I'm going to continue to explore. Now, I need to be careful with my funding because if I don't, if I do lose an income-producing sort of asset like the contract at the Gaiety, I may not necessarily be able to keep things going otherwise, but my benefactor finds me engaging. After this performance, I am flushed and perspiring, but my benefactor seems to like that. They have brought me a glittering little something. Actually, I'm curious what you both are up to. Do you mind saying what you do for work? It's totally fine if you don't. I know that's not something that people always volunteer, but I am kind of curious, especially if Green Whisper got such a quick promotion and if Hidden Citizen is unhappy with their promotion. Alright, so obviously the decision that I'm making here is more just trying to make sure that the benefactor is usually, sort of the expected value of what I'm going to get from them is a bit higher. I still have despair that I need to worry about, but I am a little curious what happens when the contract at the Gaiety runs out, so... You're a system engineer, but is like lead infrastructure at the tech company. Ah, so it's one of those promotions where like they're demanding a lot on you. All right, suspended contract at the Gaiety. I've missed too many performances. If I plead convincingly enough, I might get my job back. And it's now got a 300-second timer, so I'm curious if it goes away if I don't plead. You're in charge of all the IT infrastructure and help desk stuff. One of the things that has been a major source of stress at work has actually been the well, after you saying that, I don't really want to share. Oh no! No. I'm very interested. Sorry if I made it sound like it's a bad thing. I think it's cool to share good news with people, but I'm just saying if I if somebody else is uncomfortable saying what they do for a living for one reason or another, then yeah, I'm screwing it up. I'm fine one way or the other, but I am interested to know what types of people watch this sort of stuff. So, oh, not me, more so Citizen. Okay, cool. You both work in tech. It's going to be my guess. He's a lot cooler than yours. When I surrender the choices I have made, when the tree When I surrender the choices I have made, when the tree-filtered moon walks my surfaces, I grow light as a leaf. So change leaf. I tremble when the wind comes. The veins beneath my surface are apparent. I always carry a bead of malachite next to my skin. This card will allow you to win a change victory if you upgrade it far enough. Devote enough effort to your dances, and you will find the next step. So that's probably going to happen at the Ectasis Club. Now, obviously, I want to try and restore my contract at the Gaiety if it comes down. I wouldn't worry too much about it. I mean, it's always a weird one. Like, I always find it a little unhelpful when people kind of do these, you know, they were 12 when they accomplish this sort of thing. And actually, there's a really great movie, Amadeus. It's a play as well, that covers this topic. But, I don't know. It's the same reason why people like talking about overnight successes. Like, if you actually look at the kind of people who actually, you know, who were quote-unquote overnight successes, they it's usually the product of many months of work, and it's just unrecognized. You know, it's an overnight success because you weren't paying attention to what they were doing, rather than a product of I don't know, like, I guess we like to kind of believe that the stuff we find really cool is like this, you know, just brilliance that kind of came out of nowhere. But I think one of the challenges is that a lot of this stuff really is a product of hard work, and sometimes I think, and I see your question, Benoit, I'll do my best to answer it as quickly as I can. I guess it's one of these things that I think, especially when you have somebody talking to you that way, there's every incentive in the world to say, it's like, yes, it was my pure genius that brought about this tremendous product. I alone am the one who could accomplish this. And the problem is it creates these unrealistic expectations, and it either discourages people from pursuing a sort of this thing that they want to do. In my case, my desire of change. But what it also sometimes do is it creates these unrealistic expectations. So I can definitely tell you in terms of streaming, there's a lot of people who have become successful at this, and they're only successful because they have had a very understanding family or a spouse or something like that who has supported them while they pursue this goal. Not everybody has that. So if you don't need to worry about paying rent or cooking food or anything like that, it's a lot easier to build your streaming career. The other thing for maybe those of you who are a little bit worried about the age you're at in terms of what you've accomplished or whatever, it's maybe also worth reflecting. Oops, sorry. Sorry, I really do want to follow up on some of these conversations as well. But also, like, I always like taking these streaming examples because they're sort of directly relevant. But I've long been meaning to write a blog post on the idea of streaming is for losers, because it's another great example of one of these really provocative titles which inevitably gets like 101 hits. And yes, 101 hits is big for me. Fight me. But one of the reasons why I wanted to do that is, like, so whatever you think of him or thought of him, Total Biscuit was a very big and very influential streamer, for better or worse. And he was let go from his insurance job. Like, I'm sure there are a bunch of people who remember that guy John who couldn't hack it in the insurance biz when the financial crisis turned out. And it just so happens that he was one of the ones who was able to turn what most people would consider to be a negative life event into something that wound up being something that he was very good at, was able to sort of, he was able to carve his niche. So, and this is one of these things that I'm not entirely sure there's an age limit on that. I mean, there's something, like, if you want to be an astronaut, you kind of need to start early. If you want to be president, generally there are some things that you do very early on, including being born into the right family, or maybe being born in the United States. Some of those things are sort of required, but I have definitely learned, especially in creative fields, and I'm not really a creative person, but I have worked in what I think people would consider to be creative fields. There is never the same path that everyone takes. The stories of how I made it, ... are instructive in the sense that they show you the diversity of ways that people have accomplished that, but I'm not entirely sure that they tell you a lot about how you are going to achieve those things. And this brings me, so Green Whisper, actually I'm going to deal with this in order and then I'll unpause the game. So Green Whisper, pizza delivery boy, he was instantly promoted to senior delivery boy, seeing as you're one of 3 people who actually show up to work. This is, this is not something to feel bad about. Like, compare, whether or not you're like, oh, that thing is so much cooler than me, or that. Somebody needs to do it. And more importantly, I think work ethic counts for a lot. I will tell you for sure, there are places in Ottawa I don't go to because they can't handle basic things like a line. The value that you're creating for your employer is actually a very tangible thing by virtue of the fact that you have a proper work ethic. Now, whether or not it's the thing that you want to do with your life, tonight my benefactor would be pleased by inventiveness, enthusiasm, brio, passion. Whether or not this is something that you want to continue on doing for the rest of your life is up to you. I mean, obviously that's a determination that you make for yourself. But like, you should be taking the bow for the thing that you've done. Like, you know, who doesn't like pizza? Where else were we? You could basically run the restaurant yourself because you've had to. Yeah, and like, I'll be honest with you too, Green Whisper. In my own experience, whether it's doing the econ stuff now, or so I've been pitching a paper idea to my director, and one of the things that's happening from it is I'm actually taking some of my experience in the film industry and also some of the things that I sort of have some ideas about in terms of the structure of the games industry, and specifically the games industry in Canada, and just generally sort of these cultural industries and how they work. Now, nobody would ever tell you that that's the path that you're going to get towards doing that paper or something like that. But like the experience that you get from actually being the person who does the job will be something that you carry with you over time. Like, the only way that that's a bad experience for you is if you half-ass it. And I know a lot of people who on paper are very smart or very bright people, and in practice they're lazy and they don't get much done. They spend a lot of time talking about how, you know, how important they are, but they don't actually accomplish it. Okay, so Benoit, you were talking about how you like challenging games where you feel you'd find something not everyone can. Definitely that is in Cultist Simulator, especially because there's something that's secret in the game. I'm not even going to tell you where you can find it, but there is a secret game going on in the background, based on some little hints. It's related to the bird worm slider. And yeah, there are mysteries upon mysteries on this. I'd say the biggest thing for this, Benoit, is that there's no tutorial in this game for a reason. It onboards you well. The challenge of the game is you piecing together and figuring out how all these things work together. And to me, that's really enjoyable. Whether or not there's anything in sort of this base game that you're going to discover that other people haven't, I'm not 100% sure because I haven't gotten the whole way through the Dancer DLC. But if this is a game where you really like unwrapping ideas and seeing how they work and stuff like that, this is a very, very, very strong recommendation in that case. It's definitely not for everyone, but if you like a challenge like this, you know, like I said, there's no manual in the world that says running cults for dummies. This is basically what it would be like if you were to find yourself in a world where, like, if you find yourself in a, like, basically, if you were to wake up and you were to find yourself, or maybe go to sleep and find yourself in the Mansis, and you had instructions to a mysterious bookshop thrust into your hands, and you bought something that looked sufficiently mysterious to draw yourself towards it. This game is a lot like that. The confusion that you feel as the player is the exact same one that you would be feeling as a, as this aspiring cult leader. So you know, in your particular case, based on the parameters you gave me, it's a pretty strong recommendation. I'm not even going to be mad if you don't buy it through the GOG link, whether you get it through Steam, whether you get it through my affiliate link or not. If that's the sort of thing you like, there's no other game like Cultist Simulator. There was another one. Here we go. Seti said, playing Red Dead Redemption 2, but you're happy to lurk for some Cultist Simulator. I'm very happy that you're here. I'm digesting a bunch of chat, so I know I didn't get back to you right away. But your happy crypto made you able to be relatively okay with money without needing a regular job. Now it's about self-growing. You're also enrolled in uni, but you're not really that passionate about it anymore. Well, I think I mean, for me, Seti, I started off, when I went to university, I originally went for philosophy. But as soon as I discovered economics, I really found a passion for that. So whether or not you decide to continue on your studies, or whether or not you, you know, you pursue something that's a little bit more in line. I'm personally like education a lot, and I think it's largely beneficial. But I also say that knowing that I think the people who really education is not for them are the ones who are better equipped to decide that for themselves. And I remember it was actually a local game dev thing. I'm not going to say who or what their game is. I mean, it seemed to be something that got some attention. But the first time that I met this person, they were going on about what an absolute waste an education was and how they didn't need one, and everybody who goes and gets an education's an idiot. And I'm sitting here, I put a lot of effort into getting it, and my econ program is not one of the easy ones, I'll tell you that for sure. And that is the reaction that I get when I tell people where I went for econ. Oh, that's a tough program. And I am proud of that accomplishment. That is something that I make no secret about. And so I think one of the most off-putting things that somebody could have done in terms of an interaction would have been to basically say, it's like, yeah, because you didn't make... I almost gave a detail about the game. Because you didn't make a game with a very definable characteristic that totally would have revealed who the person was. Because you didn't do the thing I did, you're an idiot for pursuing an education. I'm like, you made a game. Like, that's cool. Obviously, you've done something that is very interesting, but I'm not entirely sure that allows you to pass judgment on my own occupation decisions. I don't know of a lot of self-taught economists who are doing, who are working in an official capacity that way. Where else? Chalk, if you remember correctly, you have a programming job? No, I'm an economist. I do coding as part of that job, because generally if you know how to tell a computer to do what you want it to do, you have an easier time. So my day-to-day tool is actually SAS, which I know a lot of people have very strong opinions about, but it's actually a pretty good program. Like, I know that's not cool to say, and I use R at home, and I've used Stata. Nate Silver uses Stata, by the way. And everybody thinks he uses R, but he doesn't. I mean, I'm sure he knows R, but like the thing that he uses when he's doing an analysis is Stata. But yeah, I know about programming. I would probably not be able to do as good of a job as a professional programmer, but if the tech guy were to drop dead at work and it was like, your country needs you, I would be able to crash land the ship, I think. Green Whisper says, usually make Rick's district... Oh, this is more about... This is actually fascinating to hear about the tipping practices of people. You don't know if you could do economics or political science with a lot more passion, but it would also feel a lot less useful than a STEM course like the one you're in right now, doing cognitive science. That's interesting, Seti. I mean, I will say there is stuff about sort of like arts degrees and stuff that... Okay, so this is going to be one of these moments where the game's on pause for a little bit, because I actually think education is worth pausing for. So there's going to be some studies and stuff like that, or some, meta-analyses or whatever you have. There are some pretty reasonable cases made about the employability or the skills that you get in terms of like proper arts degrees. I believe the two people who've made this game both have a degree, or whatever the proper term, have read English literature. But I think it matters. I think probably what matters a little bit more on these things are what you think about it. Like, what are you going to react to? Because there's this one side that I have. STEM is obviously very employable. But I'm not entirely sure you are well served by... So like, if you're in a program and you're finding it difficult to be motivated to do the work and to get the, to get the results, then that may or may not translate into good grades. In the early undergrad stuff, you will almost, like first and second year, it's pretty easy to like coast through and get some higher grades. At least, okay, so this is clearly my own experience. And obviously I had a couple of years in film, so I was a bit older than my classmates too. So there's obviously a certain maturation effect that comes up. Although I also think too, if you're like a hot shot in high school, you're probably going to be I was not a hot shot in high school once I knew I was going into the film industry, so my math was very weak. But I suppose the biggest thing is that if you're going to be doing something that you can't get motivated to do the really hard work for, I think it's very reasonable to then ask yourself, is like, okay, so then what? You know, I go and I get a job in this thing that I've already got the decision in terms of this not being worth it. And you said you feel a certain degree of financial security. Now, obviously, that's not going to last forever. But there is a certain point where you're like, is this really the best use of my time? If you don't feel you're going to get anything out of that particular major, it's not terrible to consider some of your alternatives. I think one of the biggest things that I can say, I don't have strong views on the STEM stuff because in the end, I can't know what your employment prospects are outside of school. And obviously all of the countries are a bit different. But I will say this, there's always a shortage of talent. And I think in my own experience, you can do... So I know people who did an economics degree and got into the honors class. And like, I took the really hard way to get into that. So you need a certain... They only go by grade point average. But I took like the hard math courses and that up front because I wanted to know, like I wanted to be prepared. I wanted to know if I could do this. I knew some people who wanted to go into the honors course who took the easiest econ courses that they could get, you know, history of economic thought, which is a great course, by the way. And even if you're not like an econ student, is a very worthwhile course to take. I am not knocking history courses, but there's also one that avoids very hard quantitative work. And it's a little more essay writing, and it's a little bit more, it's a little bit easier to put in less of the effort. And they sort of front-loaded all of that, and then they put their prerequisites after they got into the honors program. Now, these are not people who were particularly impressive by the end of the course. They were talking about all the cool stuff that they were going to do, but they never really delivered. They really seemed to rest on the laurels of like those first 2 years where they got good grades. So whether you go for whatever you think, like I think there's a lot of value in getting a degree in English literature or philosophy. There are things that you will get out of that. There is a level of thinking and attention to detail and analysis and being able to understand the other side of an argument or a presentation. All of these are skills that will become increasingly important, right? Machine learning may be a really cool discipline that a lot of people are learning, but the ability to understand what the other side is saying, whether you're trying to sell them something, whether you're trying to convince them, whether you're trying to, get into a new position or something along these lines, a lot of that stuff you will actually get in what people consider to be some of the softer courses. And so all of this is a really long thing of saying that I am sometimes less interested in whether or not somebody's in a quote-unquote STEM field so much as did they take the courses that everyone hates and how well did they do in those versus, oh, they've got this very impressive sounding major. So the great example of this in computer science would be there is like the algorithms and data structures course. Now, everyone hates this course. It is a nightmare. It's like taking econometrics if you're in economics. It's like doing, real analysis is kind of nice. I don't know. There's like, every discipline has like this one course where you like really hate it. And like, it's the meat grinder. It decides whether or not you're actually going to be able to continue doing this with your Weeder course. Good point. Yeah, that's exactly what they are, Benoit. Like this is the big one for me. It's like I want to know how somebody did taking one of those courses. They may not have shot the lights out in terms of the grades, but like especially like in my case, I took the data structures and algorithms course because I wanted to learn that, and oh boy did it devastate my GPA. But like I'm kind of talking my own book here, but I would be interested in somebody who had done that. Like what kind of person takes the super hard course voluntarily. And in some cases, it's because they have an interest and a passion for that subject. And, you know, this exists for all of them. If it's in philosophy, if it's in, like, there are the philosophy courses where it's sort of like, you know, let's just sit down and talk about our feelings the whole time. And then there's the philosophy courses where it's, you know, we're actually going to sit down and engage with these ideas, and all of you don't immediately get A's. And in the end, whatever you choose, whether you go for a STEM field or not, I think being honest with yourself about why you're taking certain courses and what, you know, what you're getting out of them, the effort that you're putting inside, in my view, matters at least as much as the area you've trained yourself in. And again, I say that with, of course, the caveats that I don't know what your employment prospects are afterwards, and that it is like, you do want to make sure you are getting a return on your education. And if the school you're at is pure vocational training, like, you know that, you know, if you sign up for the painting course, that you are going to become a professional painter, and that being a professional painter will mean that you are making less than, you know, the median wage or whatever. You need to be sure that you're comfortable with that. But in most countries, that's not true. So anyways, sorry guys. I mean, it's never too late to go back to college, Green Whisper, but there's also opportunities to learn elsewhere. I always liked recommending Khan Academy when people had difficulty learning learning math. There's Coursera. Even going to the library. Like, I became interested in philosophy because I would go to the library while I was working in film, and it was partly Alpha Centauri that got me into that stuff. But it's everybody kind of has their own little way of approaching this sort of stuff. But whether you're somebody who likes picking up books and reading, or whether you're one of those people who needs that instruction and needs that discipline, there's a few different ways that you can go through it. All the bad courses are mandatory for you, so okay, that's good. You spend over 26 grand to learn the basics of being an art snob. I don't know anything about art. I have Gombrick's book on it, but I haven't read it yet. I'm gonna really skip through some of these other ones. Struggle with existential dread, so you're doing exactly what my character will be doing once I undo the pause button. My desires grow in number. It may be that they will always outpace your actions. So we want to try Skillshare. There's lots of courses from people who... yeah, okay, I will actually also say too, it's not bad. Like, I would encourage anyone to do courses outside of their distance. So like, I have been a TA in computer science for both the basic and the more intermediate and like the algorithms courses and such. That's the sound for my laundry, so I'm probably gonna have to turn off that alarm, but I will get a little more gameplay in before I go and try and take it out, because I did put the stream on pause to cover school. Well, the loans go away if you get a chance to repay them. I'm still repaying the loans that I took out. Unfortunately, some of them were on credit cards, so like I'm paying 21% interest on those, and that's not good. But yeah, so I TA'd computer science. I was a research assistant in classics, and I did eventually become a teaching assistant in research and economics, but that was actually the third level that I did that. So the beeping is your jam. It's a nice supplement to Mickey Moore Productions. Yeah. All right, I'm going to at least take a second and stop that beeping, but I will get some solid gameplay in. I'll get some shout outs, and then I'm gonna run and get the blah. Get the laundry after that. It's also really funny that your degree is in cinematography, Green Whisper, because I worked in, like, when I say I worked in film, I actually worked in the camera department. Sick room grows close and stale. It's time to get up. All right. So again, for those of you who don't like the digressions, I apologize, but I think the educational discussion is, one, it's an important discussion, and number two, it is kind of on brand. So, old unhappy far off things, moth finds light in the dark, and so do I. I think the solution to that is going to be painting. We will read the 6 letters on necessity. Costly's tone is urgent, as if he suspected he might have little time left. Also, I want to double check, so I'm going to need 3 lessons learnt for my wild imagination to be upgraded. The 6 letters of necessity, warnings and confessions about the cost of the invisible arts, addressed to a student in 17th century magus and reputed immortal, Julian Costly. Oh, I'm sorry, Green Whisper. Let me just take a quick look at my... the last one I see is Melted Igloo. I regrettably, Green Whisper, I don't see the donation inside of here. If Streamlabs hasn't updated, I'm sorry about that. I'll thank you in advance. But yeah, I haven't got any alerts on that on there. But I 100% appreciate the intention, even if the thing didn't go through. But I'm especially regretful if you donated and I did not see the the alert. So you tried, it sent you to PayPal, and then it redirected you back, and it didn't change. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, at the very least, Streamlabs hasn't informed me of it. So, and I can't really diagnose for them. I'm sure I can like check my PayPal or anything like that, but I don't like, I'll put the stream on pause for a chat on you know, for a chat on education and that, but it feels a little weird to like say, oh, hang on guys, I want to see if I got the money. But thank you very much for that, Green Whisper. I'm sorry it didn't cause everything to explode the way that it did. If there's a delay in it, Streamlabs does let me hit a replay button on donations. So for instance, that happened an hour ago. So yeah, if Streamlabs kicks it through, I will be sure to give you your proper credit on the broadcast. Did it again? Okay. Yeah, and if you wind up donating more than once, I will 100% let you know, and we'll figure it out. I'm pretty sure there's a way to return that, but anyways, yeah, I'm sorry, Green Whisper. I wish I had an answer in terms of where it was going wrong, but that's fine. I mean, I'm happy to have you inside the chat. All right, K5, your degrees in international relations, minors in Russian history and economics. Your junior and senior years are brutal. Okay, so K5, if I ever say something appalling on the econ side, I expect you to keep me honest. My benefactor is delighted. All the guests applaud with real conviction. My performance has gone down well. Afterwards, my benefactor is respectful and affectionate. I have a souvenir of the evening. Quite an expensive one. Okay, so obviously I can use the...
For lack of a better word, is good.
This shit working?
Oh my god, Johnny. You are a hell of a man. Oh, yeah, PayPal just gave me an alert, so... That is a weird university, but really cool if it gets you into the right circle. What? Wait, what university? Oh, and Benoit, sorry guys, we got another one. I dropped out of computer engineering. It was hard as hell. Changed to computer science, which is comically easy by comparison. Yeah, I hear. It's like, isn't computer engineering basically like what Shenzhen IO is? Ah, okay, gotcha. All right, so I'm gonna use the Dream for health. We're already reading costly book. Let's try and get my job back at the Gaiety. I need the job back. I'll tell them it'll be different this time. Perhaps they'll understand. It's electrical engineering and drag. Alright, so we've got a couple collections of poetry. That'll be nice for the upgrade. And again, we're reasonably well supplied with money, so it'll take time to sort the gold from the dross, the wheat from the chaff, the blood from the water. If I buy enough books, I'll find something interesting. Thank you very much for the donation, Johnny. Speaking of which, nope, we got things are happening, so half-glimpse wistfulness has touched me. I've got 1 minute to deal with this restlessness. I am tempted to paint, but let's see what my timers are at. I didn't beg. Not quite. Okay, so contract's got 2 minutes, so let's go paint. That's mostly because I might get contentment, but I'll definitely not get dread. In the meantime, as far as dreaming is concerned, still don't have much to do with that. I found someone who may be a kindred spirit, but I'll need to win them over. Winning over an acquaintance requires your passion. Alright, so all of my mystique is now going to get gobbled up with the wrong kind of attention. We have also got The Locksmith's Dream, A Light Through the Keyhole, the first volume of Teresa Gallmer's examination of the parallels in the mystic dreams of artisans. So, more good news from Roland. We're doing okay in terms of locations and such, so I kind of want to exhaust this as much as I can. What else do we have? That was 20 years ago you've done today. Oh wow, I didn't know that. You double majored and mastered in different facets of history, got your PhD in folklore. Is that kind of the same thing you're all talking about with engineering and computer science? Well, isn't it? There's like a Joseph Campbell quote. It's like, if the computer is a god, it's an Old Testament god, one with a lot of rules and no mercy. So folklore seems to be completely appropriate for me. I was going to do some shout-outs and then I completely failed to do so. Alright, we've got the 6 letters of necessity. This might be a good opportunity for me to try and upgrade my reason. So we've got some erudition to work with right now. Even the sun can be divided, though it require the forge of days for its division. So we've got the smith's secret. In the 5 continents, smiths have whispered the same words to the iron. Murderers have been known to whisper these words too. And adepts, of course. These words are spoken in ritual to inspire an unmerciful change. The one thing I am a little disappointed with the approach that I've got so far is that I have not been pursuing this change of leaf. But of course, this has been coming. I've got a few other pressures on me right now, so I want to make sure that that's taken care of first. So I do need 2 lessons learnt. So the easiest way for me to do that is I'll actually study. I'll read what's to hand to get 2 erudition, then I'm going to be able to turn this collection of essays into another lesson learned reason. That's probably the best way for me to approach that. I see Knight, good to see you again. No, not at all, Milner's Mite. I like it when people participate in the conversation. The big problem I have is that I don't do a very good job of dividing my attention between the game and the topic at hand, and I know it doesn't always create the best experience for... See, this is one of the big things, is that I like trying to cover things as seriously and as directly as I can, and I try to be thoughtful. But in the end, it is just some guy playing a video game on the internet, spewing his opinions out. And I think there are, I would not blame someone to sit down and just say, okay, we know your opinion on that, and it's, so what? I am definitely not one of these Twitch streamers who feels that having an audience immediately grants them this status of thought leader. I think Eyes of Sin in particular has some stories in this regard. To satisfy my benefactor, I'll need to exert my abilities and ensure I look my best. That always has a cost. But yeah, so, but with that in mind, like, I don't think it's a coincidence that Cultist Simulator is the one where we start talking about a lot of these subjects. Like, you know, sure, this game doesn't formally talk about education, but, I mean, I think it's a really great example. I think, you know, K-Fi was sort of talking about how he's interested in the economic perspective. I think one of the big things that teaches me, and one of the things that it leads me in terms of my thinking, is I think a lot about trade-offs. And so, even if education isn't formally modeled inside of Cultist Simulator, very similar trade-offs are. You know, how do you use that study time? Am I going to use it, you know, do I impose sort of this short-term pain, also known as the grind, you know, to improve my abilities, knowing that at some point I'm going to want to combine certain pieces of lore together in terms of a commission? Or, you know, am I willing to give up this follower in order to try and pursue this sort of goal? And you know, because that's my education and that's a way I look at the world. It's not the only way to look at the world, because I think it's really dumb when people only consider things from an economic perspective. But, you know, games are really interesting when they give you interesting trade-offs. And there's a lot of those inside of this game. And, you know, it's apocalypse and learning. This game is partly about what you give up in order to achieve your goals, or, you know, coming up with a better definition as to what those goals are. Sometimes you decide that some of those things aren't worth it, and you settle for less. Or maybe that isn't settling for less for you. Maybe it's something that you want to do on your own, and it makes you very happy. So, yeah, I mean, just because there isn't a school in this game doesn't mean that this game isn't dealing with a lot of the... I mean, every year, you know, there's going to be a group of students who are making a decision. Do I go out into the workforce and make some money and gain some experience? Or do I go to a school where I will have to pay money, and after 4 years I'm going to come out and I'm going to hope that I can find a job like I'm hoping right now? That's a very interesting dilemma, and it can be a subject of very good, you know, very good drama, very good stories. And so, you know, while there's no student DLC, at least yet, I mean, you guys have heard me, especially during the Adept, I talk a lot about my time at school and this idea of combining the lore together. So it's, I don't think it's a coincidence that these kinds of conversations come up during Cultist Simulator a lot. Captain Shield, Johnny Big Time, ever since you accidentally misspelled my name, what other stream? Everyone else has been misspelling your name. Mjolnir's Might, yeah, when you play this game, you're great, or any game that's like... I'm very glad to hear that, Mjolnir's Might, because I really enjoy playing this game. And the problem is that because I'm a little conscious of the fact that there is a type of streamer that's sort of like, because people are watching me and because I can talk, you all now need to treat my opinions like they're gospel. I really don't want to become that. But I also think that it is very natural for a game like this to inspire a certain type of reflection, and one that can... I mean, again, there's a lot of maps that you can make from this game to, you know, to your own life and your own passions, and mine will definitely reflect cinema and study and, you know, maybe a little bit more of an academic life than I think most people would care for or want, but I see myself in every single one of these characters. It's not a mistake that when I started playing The Dancer, I immediately thought of all of these experiences of being a broadcaster on Twitch. I think that's a totally fair way of playing the game and reading the game, and it's also probably one that never once came across the minds of anybody involved in writing it. So Uh-oh. Oh, it's the course of the heart, so it's good news. Okay, let's just take... Oh, lots of stuff happening. Okay, so I'm going to wind up with a restlessness because I haven't pursued my passion. We've got our Thunder's Secret back. And Pope Clifton has emerged. A bellowing and unorthodox Catholic with a mystic streak and an untrimmed beard. I honestly, Green Whisper, I feel like I owe you money at this point in the amount of labor. I'm never going to say no to money, but please do not feel that you are under any obligation to carry through on this. I appreciate it, and it is a rare event. Johnny is the first donation I've gotten in, I think, 2 weeks, and before that it was like 2 months. But so I'm not going to say no, but I am genuinely happy to have you here, and I don't want you to feel like because you said you were going to do it that you have to move heaven and earth to make it happen. Yeah, especially if you're getting frustrated, like I'd be much happier to know that you're here enjoying yourself than running into dilemmas. So, student DLC would fit which lores though? Probably, I feel like Lantern is the first place to go. If you want to do the Animal House DLC, you could probably do... Oh, I guess we've already done a Lantern one, though. I mean, school kind of covers everything, right? It doesn't just have to be about learning. Yeah, histories might be one. I see less of an argument for knock, but that might also be a lack of my imagination as well. It's not about gospel, but you take the time to explain why, and when people question, you take the time to go further, and that's what makes... Oh, thank you, Mueller's Might. Yeah, I do my best, and I thought... Captain Shield, I have talked to you a couple of times. You have also, by the way, directly talked to Johnny Big Time. But, I mean, I'm a little worried about this, because it's not the first time that you've said that I've been ignoring you, but I very specifically referenced your PhD in folklore earlier on. And I'm a little bit worried that there's certain messages that you want me to be paying attention to that I'm not. But when I am recognizing them, I'm maybe not getting the credit for that as well. Like, I am doing my best to both play the game and interact with chat, and I feel that there's a little bit of an imbalance that's emerging here in terms of the attention that I am giving, and then what I'm being granted. So, you want to donate? You like to give back? If it went through you, Jesus Christ, dude. No, yeah. I'll put it to you this way, Green Whisper. It wouldn't be the first time people have had difficulty with the donations, so it's this is probably on me. And if I don't make it easy for people to be able to donate, then I cannot complain about seeing a drop in donations. I will actually, you know what? Let me take a quick look. There's maybe one thing that I can change. Oh God, okay. So apparently there are other options available on Streamlabs, but it's like just a nightmare of red tape, so. But that is useful feedback. I'll do my best to address that. So, The Queens of the Rivers, a surreal contemporary play by the enigmatic Monica Medina, in which the Queens of the Rivers are murdered one by one. Oh, no, that's totally fair, Mjolnir. Okay, Captain Shield, my apologies. Mjolnir's Might on my screen has the exact same color as your name here, so I completely misunderstood. I thought that was your chat, not his chat, so that is my bad. This is one of the dilemmas, by the way, when I do this, is that the colors are like, I don't have control over them, but it completely makes people look like who they are. So that's on me. Everybody get up, Johnny's gonna get his $5 back. Yeah, sorry, you know, the best I can do is come clean on that stuff. That is completely on me for not being more on top of that. I'm gonna lose my contract at the Gaiety again. I think this time we will go for the Gaiety, and then Nicole should be able to be taken care of. Tonight my benefactor's mood is conversational, so we will employ reason. So I've got some vitality. There's not a lot I'm going to be able to do with it, though. And you know what? This conversation might just have made me lose Nicole. Yeah, so I think it's going to take me like 45 seconds to... I think it's going to take me like 45 seconds to do the Gaiety. But it's really hard to take care of more than one patron, so let's do our best. 45 seconds. All right. Well, I'm gonna be super cheesy. Hey, do you want a conversation, Nicole? Nicole, can we have a conversation? That's okay. You said PhD in focal. Yeah, I mean, again, like it is like short of me actually like. I do my best to read everything that comes up in chat, and one of the ways that I do get that shorthand is by just looking at the colors. So if this unfortunately results in embarrassing situations where I think somebody has said something and it's completely not the same person. And obviously this can result in situations where I feel like I am distributing my attention and my responses to everyone in chat evenly, and it turns out, nope, I screwed up. It's you know, I've actually been talking to one person rather than 5. So anyways, my apologies. Undertaker would be in... Oh yeah, sorry, there was some chats about... Mr. IT man, help me. Where were we? There's something about student DLC. Okay, alright, so maybe Dead Inside didn't land as a joke. In all seriousness, histories would be cool. Oh, sorry, that was to SE Knight. And Undertaker would be interesting. Yeah, actually, you're right. That would be a decent... So here's one. Okay, what would you guys want for a winter-themed DLC? Okay, so now I need to worry about that restlessness again. In the meantime, let's go to Moreland's shop and try and salvage some of my studies. Mjolnir's Might will just go and drift back into the shadows. No, you gave us so much material. Alright, so we've exercised the mind. In the meantime, what can I do? So this is a tricky one. I'm trying to figure out what's the best use of my study at the moment. I think in this case, doubling up the glimmering. No. Read the collection of essays, then double up the glimmering. Then I can improve scholarship, and I should hopefully have enough. I should hopefully have enough to improve my wild imagination. Snow. Nice, Johnny. Thank you. Right, tonight I sense an opportunity. Tonight I could attract attention. Tonight they'll notice that. We are really cutting it close with Nicole, and I'm using the exploit I promised I wouldn't. I didn't promise that, but... I felt their eyes upon me, and afterwards I received a gift from an admirer. Too gaudy for my tastes, but I can sell it on the second-hand market. Thank you very much for that, host Captain Shields. Alright, so we're refreshed just in time to carry on. We've got another vitality, which we'll be able to turn into a lesson. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to need like 3 lessons learned. And I just don't have the study space for that. So it's pretty unlikely we'll be able to make anything out of it, but... where are we next? Okay, so we will take care of my next private performance. My benefactor would be delighted if I'd offer a private performance for a small and refined audience. They'll invite me to dinner afterwards and, of course, offer suitable gifts in return for my time. Yeah, I'm genuinely confused by how much difficulty you're having with that, Green Whisper. I personally haven't had problems with PayPal, but my personal experience of it does not count for much. Apollo and Marsyas, the libretto of a lost opera concerning the contest between Apollo and Marsyas and its tragic outcome. The librettist is identified only by their initials, RK and JL. I will also say, too, you're not the first one to have problems, so I think this may be a Streamlabs thing. Maxthon, you just tried Firefox. If anybody... So, I will say, if anybody has any experience with this that they've been able to get around, I'm sure it would be, I'm sure your insight would be appreciated, but I also know there's sometimes a benefit to just staying away from technical problems, and I used to do that in film all the time. It's like, oh, this is sound's problem. I'm coming out smelling like a rose on this one. The Roji walk is what we call the new form. Not all that new, not anymore, but it has merit if you can stand the pain. Find me in my house and we can talk about the partner that you will need in the end. Here's the address. Oh my god! Thanks, guys. Okay, so we have escaped the dread for now. We've got my health back. I'm gonna need to combine this glimmering. That'll be done in 12 seconds. And for conversation, let's get a recruitment drive going in. So Temple Unceasing, Pope Clifton Ceremony, and Dreaming. I don't have anything to do yet. Yeah, that's true of Dr. Ibn al-Adim as well. So I'm very curious about the story behind this one, because there always is one. Yeah, for those of you who don't know what Green Whisper is referring to, there are characters. So if you take a look at Lord Timothy Monday, he has got the mortal aspect, and this is true of many people. So my hanger-on is mortal, my pawn is mortal, I am clearly not mortal because I'll just copy my save file. Madame Bichet is mortal. So it's not a mistake that Sulochana Amavisa, as the laconic, energetic, bright-eyed, unblinking owner of the Ecdysis Club, is not mortal. Okay, so obviously I'm going to double up the glimmering to preserve it first, then I'm going to juggle in the upgrade for scholarship, and then I'm going to hit the poetry books. My benefactor would like inventiveness, and she shall have it. Would you guys be terribly upset if after the next little rotation of cards and such, I went to take my laundry and then did a sort of a batch of shoutouts of streamers? We'll also go back to Moorlands because I always need more books. A game for observant people. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that I love so much about it, Casual Nothing. It's I like so one of the things that I like about it too is that I usually am not that observant. I normally miss out on details like this. But I think one of the things that I enjoy the most about Cultist Simulator is finding out these little details has been one of the big reasons why I keep replaying it. So I think my playtime inside of the game is now... Where are we? I'm sure I have this recorded somewhere. 130 hours in Cultist Simulator. Not too many inside of the Dancer DLC, and even less. Oh my god! I need to upload that Steam... I'm sorry guys, I did say I was going to upload the Steam broadcast, and I forgot to. I will do that tonight. I apologize. Cool Green Whisper, I don't have another means at the moment. I appreciate you giving it a shot. I will take a look into enabling other means, but that will also be through Streamlabs, and I don't think it's a good use of anyone's time, except possibly yours, because I know that is something you really want to do, but I will ask your forbearance in waiting until the cast is done for me to try and do whatever red tape I can. But yeah, again, I totally appreciate, you know, it's not just the fact that you wanted to donate, it's the fact that you put so much effort into being able to do that. Like, I cannot possibly feel disappointed about the fact that you did that. And we managed to squeeze Johnny for an extra $5. I mean, it works, everyone wins. So yeah, like, you know, I'll see what I can fix on my end for sure. I'll let you know what opportunities are there. But yeah, you know, please don't knock yourself out over this. What else were we saying? Oh yeah, that's not a bad point, Hiddison. I think it technically costs a bit more to the user. Well, no, that's fine. I mean, you just spend what you want on your bits and you send them to the chat. I mean, again, this is definitely not worth spending cast time on. So. What am I at? So I've converted Hope Clifton. We're carrying on another one. Don't have anything to do with the contentment. I eventually want to read these books. I need to make sure I take care of the Gaiety. I think I'm actually going to go Gaiety, and I'm going to try and do a session at the Ecdysis Club. Right, we're good. Yeah, so that's another factor. Like, so my personal experience of bits has been that it has been the best way for Twitch to convert. So my average count for donation and like my average donation per user was very high by most standards before bits were introduced. And once subs and bits came in, the revenues for the stream absolutely tanked. And that's fine, because if I did this for money, I would have quit a very long time ago. But what Seti is talking about here, like, Twitch is very good at making sure that they make money. And that sometimes comes at the expense of streamers. But on the other hand, I also reflect on the fact that they're providing me a hosting service. Yes, I'm giving them content, and yes, they're making ads off of stuff like that, but I'm also not indifferent to the fact that there is a cost for them, you know, using this bandwidth rather than me. So it's, you know, it's a trade-off, and everybody kind of makes their decisions in terms of what they think the best form of support is. And my experience is not unique in that. I've talked to the people I speak to who are usually quite forthcoming in terms of details, you know, open streaming. They've more or less said the same thing too, that the introduction of bits was a net drop in their revenues. And I know Twitch presents it as something that was an improvement. So I'll use this wonderful term that I first saw used by Weather Factory. That is anecdata. I'm sure somebody else is doing very well with bits, and I think Twitch in particular is doing well with bits and subscriptions. But I also think it's just a very different experience to purchase something which you can use site-wide versus doing something individually to a caster. I will also say too, like, with my experience, donations, people will donate what they think is their worth. Like, you'll notice that the average amount, or not the average amount, but like the amount that comes up on the PayPal thing is quite high. And that's because I deliberately set it that way, not because I think that's what people are going to donate. I deliberately chose, so if I put it as 0, like, I actually don't think you have that option. Basically, there's certain low values, which if people use them, you're essentially giving the money to PayPal. But nobody is ever going to donate more than what they want. Everybody is going to decide, no, this is what I was going to spend. So if you're curious about the psychology behind that, well, not the psychology because I don't know that, but if you're curious about the idea behind why that number is what it is, I don't like the fact that Twitch has said every stream is worth $5, and then they've like added the sub thing where you can get like a $10 and a $30 or whatever sub. I much prefer the idea of somebody saying, pay what you want. If you think this thing is worth something, you can click your PayPal button and you can put whatever you want. And if you think it's worth $1, it's worth $1. If you think it's worth $100, then it's worth $100. But I feel like a lot of my donation scheme was built around trying to deprogram people from this idea that broadcasts are worth $5. Because now that they've said those are worth $5, they're going to twist themselves into trying not to raise that value. And there are streams that I watch that I 100% think are worth more than $5. So that's, if you are curious about why that is what it is, it's not because I actually want you to spend that amount. It's because it's a number I think you are not going to just leave as a default. And it is something that actually gets you to sit down and say, how much do I really value this thing? So, the random gift subscription was a stroke of evil genius from Twitch. I didn't realize it was a random one. I always thought people just gave me a subscription, so. Okay, let's go back to Moreland's shop. I don't like talking about the Twitch stuff as much as I like talking about education, if I'm honest. It's, you know, it is what it is. Everybody's going to have their complaints in terms of the way things are set up, but I will definitely, I mean, Twitch and YouTube are always going to get their cut. And I personally think anybody who wants to actually make a living doing this is a little bit crazy, and I have a lot of respect for people who are able to keep with it, because it is definitely not an easy thing to make money at. Okay, the ceremonious resident is thunder in a church. I know it well because I wrote it myself. I've got all my pawns now. I should probably be chatting with others, so I know that Zuluchana has nothing else for me to do. Yeah, so let's keep going on a recruitment drive, although I'll start using the Smith's Secret instead. It became random when they allowed people to gift more than one sub. Oh, that's really cool. You basically give out $500 in the form of 100 subs, and it's literally more than half will go to Twitch. Yep. I mean, some people do have arrangements with Twitch that produce. Green Whisper. Actually, you know what? This works a little bit better than a donation for you, because you've been able to dethrone Mad King Brutos as #1. Your name's going to be up there for a little while longer. Thank you very much for that. Like I said, you put a lot of effort into that, and it is not lost on me, and everybody on YouTube will probably be very happy. It's like, thank God he's shouting up about the donations. But thank you. That's very cool of you, Green Whisper, and I believe you will actually have a badge by your name that says how much you have contributed. Yes, so you have the Bits Leader badge beside your name. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Knowledge is a city wall built stone by stone, but what waits in the darkness beyond the walls? Why would we need a fortress, except that we had something to fear? So I hope I don't screw up the timings on these things. Oh, my benefactress wants passion. For whatever reason, despite my best efforts, my benefactor does not seem interested in me tonight. They do make an effort to bid me a courteous goodbye, but their customary gift seems like an afterthought. That's fine. Green Whispers got me taken care of. So we will immediately throw ourselves back into the Gaiety Club. Let's recover some of our health. I should be able to do a shift at the Ecdysis Club. Do the commission peeps have the mortal aspect? Madame Bichet does. Dr. Redeem does not. So the Alapine is an immortal. I believe he is also referred to as an immortal in one of the texts. And then I believe Jennings and Poppy are both mortal. You earned that, Green Whisper. All right, I'm gonna keep on my my acquisition of knowledge tour. Yeah, Captain Shield's struggle is, I mean, in addition to the subscriber that he has, but his struggle is me failing to recognize that Mjolnir's might is not the same as Captain Shield 616, and I can't blame him misspelling on that. Actually, you know what? We're gonna blame Johnny tonight. We'll blame Johnny for everything. She must be along too. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the challenges that I've had, is that I've not. There are a few definitions that I have a fairly good idea of, and then there's some other ones where I'm like, wait a minute, that one doesn't make sense. And I've sort of been enjoying, especially the Dancer DLC, I've really been enjoying at a surface level so far. I'm actually really looking forward to playthrough number 2, where I start going really neurotic over details inside of the books and such. One thing I also think I've fallen behind on is actually talking about some of the things I'm specifically thinking of in terms of the game and how they relate to particular ideas. Like, I haven't been talking about the dancing element as much since the Steam stream. Oh, dude, Green Whisper, when you move out on your own, that's the time to save some money. I don't think you should be subbing if you move out, but another copy of Kerner and Goethe. We can actually, we'll send that straight to Oriflammes right now. This oddity is probably worth something, but it's hard to be sure. But yeah, again, it's, so I will say, like, I'm really happy that we didn't just hit 2,000, but we hit 2,000 and the number is going up. One of the best things that you can actually do to support a streamer, like, I have definitely had a pretty reasonable spectrum of financial circumstances for myself, and I'm lucky enough that I'm generally okay where I am right now. So one of the best things that you can do to support a streamer is show up to the cast, be present, participate in chat if it's that kind of a cast, and tell your friends about it. You know, because this is the big thing, is like, some people have a means of donating to a broadcast and some people don't. And I am never going to consider any kind of, like, you know, I like this person more. Okay, so like, this is one of the things that I was talking about with the benefactor thing, right? That there's definitely a style of benefactor or donator or Twitch fan or whatever who sort of feels that, you know, a $2 donation suddenly entitles them to, you know, unfettered access to all of your personal information. And there are some people who know that, like, they're, you know, whether it's a Patreon or something like that, there are definitely people who make an effort to throw their weight around and are fully aware of sort of what an outsized influence they have over a broadcast. So one of the big things is that I sort of, like, I've always taken the view that people bringing attention to the cast, and that's either as a concurrent viewer or a like on YouTube or a comment or a you know, active participation in chat, telling a friend about it, a retweet. There's lots of different ways that you can support people that in a way that's free. And the big thing is that for some, even if you are somebody who has no financial means of supporting a broadcast, you never know what the next bit of attention is going to give. It could be somebody who thinks absolutely nothing of giving a sizable donation to a broadcast. And you may never know that you were the one to cause that. But these things happen all the time. And again, I'm lucky enough that I don't do this for a living. Like all the donations and stuff like that, just I put them right back into the stream. So like right now I'm looking to replace my mouse because the scroll button doesn't work anymore. That's why you see these. Like if you're wondering why I've switched to this really coarse zoom, it's because my mouse wheel doesn't work anymore. So that's one of the things, you know, the collected donations, the $5 that Johnny gave in and the 10. The bits are a little bit harder for me to extract, but that's fine. I keep some accounting to make sure that I'm made whole. But yeah, like once I hit the level, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, I could obviously get a cheap one, but then I'll just be replacing it again when I find sort of a comparable mouse. And usually, you know, November, December, there's going to be some sales on. So I usually put this stuff back into the stream. I've upgraded my internet to be able to, you know, to do the 60 frames on some of the more action-packed games. And it's been about 3 years since I built this computer. So depending on how some of the newer things, like I'll probably play Battlefield 5 for at least a little bit. I occasionally, you know, look at what potential upgrades I can do to make sure that the content is where it needs to go. So, but yeah, I'm lucky enough that, you know, I make enough in my existing job that I can keep the stream going and I don't need to worry about making rent from my broadcasts. But that's not true for everyone. And again, I've always sort of felt this view that if you just view an audience as an ATM, you know, you're almost certainly unworthy of the... All right. Did I screw this up? So I could have explored it the whole time. All right. I'm a moron. But yeah, I don't know. I think the view that sort of viewers are like your potential ATM and you need to maximize, you know, revenue per user. Some people have to think about it that way because that's how they make their... they're like, by the way, I love this description. I've reordered the boundaries of my ignorance. It's another fine little bit of writing in Cultist Simulator. Not that you would expect anything less. But again, because I'm in this position where I'm really looking more to cover costs, and obviously to expand the notice of the stream, to me it's a little bit more meaningful to encourage the sorts of behaviors that... oh, it's the contract at the Ecdysis Club. I should not be allowed to play this game. You should probably pay off your debt. That's true as well. What was it? Something lore related that was going on. She did the old form dance already. I think she would be hard. She's red tinted after all. So this is the one weird one, is that I noticed that for the patrons, the colors don't seem to correspond as well. Or maybe I just haven't figured it. Like, so like Madame Bichet, I don't really associate the commissions that she gives you with her color, but I do with the pawns, obviously. So there's always someone who doesn't understand, who understands too well. This troublemaker may seek evidence on my activities and to share with the authorities. This gentleman would much rather be left alone with his pipe and his illustrated London news. But no, apparently some conjurer of abominations has to be hunted down like a mad dog, and apparently nobody else can find the time. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Hidden Citizen, you should pay off the debt. Sorry, Captain Shield, I thought you were talking to me. Like, you know. So okay, I have the people who I subscribe to, and I have the people who I donate to, and that is part of my entertainment budget. So because I see fewer movies out in the theater now that I'm in Ottawa, and it's a little bit harder to go out to the theater, I will sometimes toss a few coins in Johnny's hat or something like that. Because in the end, I sort of feel like, you know, that's a manageable thing for me. But like, I would not be really worthy of your attention, Hidden Citizen, if I told, especially if it's interest, like if that debt is generating interest for you, what you want to, the way you should cost that is you say, okay, this is the amount that I would donate. This is the amount that I would be paying off the interest by. And like, you take your interest rate and you actually calculate with interest what that donation is. So like, I had a couple friends who were getting married, and like I wanted to get a proper suit because I hadn't got like a suit since like graduation basically. And I didn't have the money for it at the time, but I did have a credit line. And so I basically, you know, I looked at the price and I kind of factored in, and I'm like, yeah, okay, you know, I'm going to pay this much in interest to pay the thing down. And I was like, I am, you know, so I think it wound up being like $30 more or something like that. And I was like, you know, I am willing to, I think spending $30 to, you know, come to my friend's special occasion and, you know, be there, be, you know, presentable, that is worth it to me, and so I did. So yeah, if you are going to be donating while you are in debt, you should 100% be considering the cost to you is not the money that you put towards whatever stream you donate to. The cost to you is the money that you put towards the stream plus the interest that you generate. And I would really not be worthy of your attention if I encouraged you to donate while you had debts that you needed to pay, especially ones that are high interest debts. So, Masamigoma, thank you very much for that subscription. So apparently everybody's being super generous with their attention the more I tell you not to donate. Thank you very much. I have a budget? Yeah. How you doing, Masamigoma? Thank you very much. I was going to go and get my laundry, but I guess I need to do a little more gameplay now. Oh wait, I had a conversation I was going to have. Smith's secret. There it was. The auctioneer's gavel bangs. My item has sold for nothing. How are you doing tonight? Alright, my benefactor is delighted. The guests applaud with real conviction. My performance has gone down well. Afterwards, my benefactor is respectful and affectionate. I have a souvenir of the evening. Quite an expensive one. So I think that's 5 wealth that I get. Yes, it is. Okay, so here's a great example of having to sort of think ahead. If I do the contract at the Ecdysis Club, I'm going to be forced into a position between choosing between the Gaiety and Lord Timothy again. So I'm going to take care of the Gaiety right away. Then we'll go for Lord Timothy. We might have enough time with Nicole to be able to do the cabaret. Kashnomo, thank you very much for the follow. Part of your problem is that you don't have a written budget. It's a tricky one, Hidden Citizen. I've never been that good with written budgets myself. I have actually started writing down when I buy things. Glimpses. I'm going to do another read poetry just so I can boost up my wild imagination. I have started writing down when I buy things. And that's done a little bit of a better job. Like, I just have a little spreadsheet on my phone, which I keep track of. That's done a little bit better job of sort of quantifying to me. There's this study that people have sort of have done in terms of how people react to certain types of payment. And like, when you give up cash, you really feel like you're giving something up, as opposed to using a credit card, where like you don't really actually feel that same separation. And so people who use credit cards tend to spend more. So whether or not that's the factor that's being applied on my spreadsheet, or or I'm just sort of being a little more mindful in terms, like I'll put a little bit of work into that spreadsheet. So like what I basically worked out was I have an entry for the date, I have the amount that I'm spending, and basically it takes the sum of what I've spent up to this point divided by the number of days that have been tracked. And so it works out my average spending, and instead of like coming up with a super explicit written down budget, I kind of came up with here's what you should be spending each day. And it was like Nighthawks. I boosted my donation, or my backing for Nighthawks, and I forgot about it. And then I was a little uncertain about whether or not it would be funded. So I boosted the amount, and then the thing actually went through. And I was like, oh, I got to take that into account. And because I have sort of this running average, I actually lowered my spending in the subsequent days to make sure that I was able to sort of get in on the target. And I think that's one really nice thing, is to be able to, to me, it's a little bit of a game. It's like, can I hit that number? And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be slightly lowering that number until I'm like, I don't want to make myself like destitute. I guess I wouldn't make myself destitute, but I don't want to live like a pauper when I have the means to live otherwise, because I've lowered it too much. But it'd be kind of neat to see if I can give myself this decreasing target, making sure that I'm putting money more towards the things that I really want. And I do see you, your good evening there, Cash Noma. Thank you very much for that follow. I hope you're enjoying yourself. Obviously, there's a little bit less of the gameplay going on, and that's unfortunately a symptom of how I've been approaching it the last couple of days. But I will do my best to make sure that we're slowly progressing in the story of Roland the Dancer. Are you a fan of Cultist Simulator at all, by the way? Or is this the first time that you've seen it being played? Yeah, I'm assuming that's probably also, that's a good point that you raised there, Seti. I think that's a reasonable point that could be made about financial markets too. Although I think the assumption for financial markets is that most people are reasonably sophisticated participants, and so they are a little more aware of what they're doing. Tonight I sense an opportunity. Tonight I could attract attention if I cease to hold back and commit myself more fully. I think I can afford the passion here, so... I am more than a listen package of flesh and blood. Huge fan of this game. It has consumed your past 2 weeks of free time. That's awesome to hear. I have got a lot of time in this game myself. I think I said 130 hours just before. I got a chance to play it very early in its development, and I've not stopped since. So it's always delightful to see... Always delightful to see more people. Now, if you've put 2 weeks into the game, I'm assuming you must have gotten a victory. So what was your first victory? Assuming you did accomplish that. Obviously, I don't want to assume. All right, so sickness has ravaged my body, but I've obviously got money, so we'll pay up, because I am getting a little short on health. Yeah, and honestly, Green Whisper, from what it sounds like, you've been putting a lot of effort into work, so I think they should be, hopefully they are understanding. All right, so this is where the Greek's going to become useful. Hopefully they're understanding. Even to, like, if you do get called in, just a respectful chat with the management about the amount that you're working and the time that you need to, like, be effective. Like, the best you can do is be upfront about it. If they're not sensitive to your needs, then that's a time where you start thinking about what your alternatives are going to be. But, I always like being upfront about where things are as much as I can, so... First victory was Enlightenment, can't recall the lore, and working on your third is Dancing Cop. That's a great playthrough. Yeah, I just went for a very generic dance. We actually reloaded this one so I could get a generic dancer. The first dancer win I got was to partner up with one of my patrons. But yikes, Green Whisper. Sooner murder an infant in its cradle than nurse unacted desires. I'm gonna have to send that. SE Knight got Sensation Grail. Sensation is the one that I have not gotten for myself yet. Sorry guys, that was me. I gotta send this to. I gotta send this to someone. I'm just taking a photo of the quote, and I'm putting. You all know the smirky emoji. I'm totally putting that one on. I used to. So what? Actually, out of curiosity, Esine, was that when you played as a bright young thing, or did you just want to go for the sensation victory with one of the other ones? Alright, I've got a ton of books that I need to read, and some of these are new ones. So Kittling Ripe and Moldy Warp's Grave is another example, as well as Wrapped in the King, of books that I haven't encountered before. Technically won a dancer run by accidentally being whisked off by a wealthy... That's the one I got! Yeah, actually, that's how I ended the... We did a stream of this on the Steam, like the Steam page, and I was very lucky that I was able to end it that way. So, benefactor finds me engaging. Tonight I danced and I laughed and I was charming with my benefactor and delightful with our guests. Everyone is happy and I have a little something good enough, something enough to live on for a good while. Alright, so I will now take the contract at the Ecdysis Club, which I should have paid attention to in the first place. Purpose, change, ability or scar. I thought I had a scar already. Thunder almost. Surrender almost. Oh, I need... Yeah, this isn't enough. I need to start getting those influences. Yeah, there's definitely more content planned, SETI. This is just the first DLC of several. Yeah, by the way, I've not read the roadmap, so I think somebody else will be better at informing SETI of the planned updates. Yeah, and unfortunately, Blood Gallade, I don't have any candy, so you know what? I'm not even gonna try. I'm gonna wait until I've got some of the proper influence. So let's just go back to private performances for the next little while. It does give me a really good reason to keep hitting the books and stop upgrading things for the next little while, though. Oh! I'm feeling the consequences of my neglect for my desires. Alright, another hanger-on. I think let's just keep chatting about the Smith's Secret. What was I going to say? Next update is supposed to provide use for the Scholar skill. That's really good to hear. I mean, I've been pretty happy with the things that they've already put inside the updates. But I don't know. Every time I watch one of the dev streams or something like that, I usually walk away pretty happy with the kinds of decisions that they're making. Because, like, this is a big thing. Like, if you sit down and think about sort of... Like, so, like... Think of a group of fans, right? Like, you've got a community built around this game who really wants to experience it, and they've all got ideas in terms of what they think is best for it. I have to assume it's really hard to keep everybody happy with this. But, you know, even I'll be honest, the feedback I've given in the support channel has not always been the best. But man, whenever I actually see what they've been kind of coming up with, I'm usually like, yeah, that's a really good idea. They should do that. They should do more of that. So, all right, feed my imagination fiercest. Another time, I would have been a seer or a heretic. So, phantoms ride my waking mind. Use this with 4 lessons learnt to gain even more passion. Oh God, I'm sorry to hear that. Green Whisper. Is there anything we can do? Definitely feel, if you think talking will help, definitely don't feel bad about chatting. All right, Traveling at Night, the annotated dream journals of Christopher Illopoli, sometimes called the only readable occultist. Literate, entertaining, and bewildering. The wood lies outside the walls of the Mansis. As any student of the histories knows, the Mansis has no walls. This game is anything but lacking. You are thrilled that they think of it as living. Yeah, I think part of that is just, you know, fulfilling a promise to the Kickstarter backers too. But I'm really happy that... So I do know that part of this was modeled on Paradox's way of handling things. And I've sometimes been not very happy with the Paradox model. Generally, I think it works well, but there have definitely been times where I feel that the way that it's been set up is a little unfair. But this idea of sort of like, you know, the DLC being sort of the motivator for extended content to the game, for, you know, adding new layers, new rooms and such, I think is a great way. Because, like, there's no reason why... I know in the old days, you know, you'd get it in a box and that was it. If it shipped with a bug, it shipped with a bug. But, like, you know, that hasn't been true for, like, what, 10, 20 years? Like, you know, it's nice to know that these things live longer than just release day. And I really like that they have, you know, they've taken the interest in the game and they have been able to turn that into a, you know, sort of a continued development. I will admit, I'm very curious about what they have on the shelf for sort of the next big project. But I'm going to enjoy this ride as long as I can. I do have a couple things to say to that too, Green Whisper, so I'll do my best to be encouraging, but I know some people in chat may have some of their own experiences as well. Alright, tonight my benefactor will prefer to see me in something new. Should buy something quickly. And then Cash Noma says, so don't mind the Paradox model. DLCs often come with updates to the core game which enhance the experience, whether you are interested to buy the DLC or not. Yeah, exactly. The only time I've had a problem with it is usually with Crusader Kings, when there would sort of be this like DLC and then an associated like, you know, model pack, and then they'd turn around and say, well, the majority of the cost is in the creation of the models, and then like the majority of the price of the DLC is actually in the DLC itself. And I'm like, you know, I think that developers should be able to charge what they want for games, and I think there is a tendency for people to charge too little for games, and I recognize that people need to make a living, but it was very frustrating to just look at these like DLC releases and just the inconvenience of having to add multiple ones into the cart and feeling like sort of being nickeled and dimed. It was a bit much to take. That was really the only time that I was frustrated by the Paradox model. But the way they've been handling Stellaris has been exceptional. I think Stellaris has done a very fair job. I think they do a good job of signaling when it's like a major update and when it's more when it's more of a story pack. I think the associated patches have been good, but I think the DLCs have really been worth the game as well. Obviously, I've gotten press keys for it, so for those of you who care about that sort of disclosure, you know, I could be in the pockets of big platypus skeletons, but I am a definite fan of Paradox. I have bought things for Stellaris out of my own pocket, as well as receiving press keys from them, and I am very happy with the way that they've managed it. Seti says, think Paradox mostly does it well. The only thing is division of the content between updates and DLC. Some basic things from newer updates don't work as well without DLC, like Res Public. Yeah, it's tricky. I think they work a lot on deciding what should be behind the paywall and not as well. But yeah. Hey, Melemony. Okay, guys. I definitely want to address what Green Whisperer has been saying. I want to chat with Melemony. Obviously, we've got some new people inside the chat as well. I would love it if you guys, while I am off dealing with my laundry, it will only be a few minutes. I just need to grab it out of the machine. I'll you know, it's bedding, so I need to like actually put it all on. But I am gonna take a minute to get that done, because I've already let it go for a little while, and I'll feel bad if I'm taking up a dryer that somebody else might want to use. It was pretty empty, but it's probably good for me to like get it out of there. So it'll only probably be like a couple of minutes. But if you guys could take a minute to chat amongst yourselves, if you don't mind taking on the role of entertaining each other. If you have to go, I totally understand, but I'm gonna put up the back soon sign, and I'm gonna mute so you don't have to listen to me swearing as I stub my toe. But I'm gonna take a quick minute to head off. So thanks, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. All right, thank you for your patience, everybody. Let me just get myself set up again. Let me just catch up quickly with chat here. Yeah, the animations in this, this actually, I remember when they added these like card sounds, I was so excited by them. The details in this are really great. Melemony. So let me just take a minute here. I know some people have already been responding to Green Whisper, and that is great, especially because I always, I know my limitations, and I'm really not in a position to be able to tell anyone what to do. But I also don't think that's an excuse to turn to something like indifference. Let me just take a quick second. Turn when he does. So I should actually ask Green Whisper, have you, by the way, so first of all, thank you for sharing, because I realize that's not always comfortable for people. But I should check, like, have you felt a need, or have you tried to talk with someone about this? Is that an option that's available to you? Obviously that sometimes depends on where you're located. Obviously when I say talk to someone about it, I mean professionally. Takes time to sort the gold from the dross, the wheat from the chaff, the blood from the water. If I buy enough books, I'll find something interesting. Alright, my benefactor is restless. For whatever reason, despite my best efforts, my benefactor does not seem interested in me tonight. They do make an effort to bid me a courteous goodbye, but their customary gift seems like an afterthought. This gives me something to dream about for the next little while. More money. Back to the Gaiety before they fire me. Makes you fearful of something mental being serious at all. No idea what it means. Yeah, like, and that's one of the big things where I think... Oh, drat. I'll be able to handle one, but not both. Yeah, this is one of these cases where sort of my first question on like, so I definitely think being open and available to talk to people is something important to do, but I also know that there are, there's only so much a guy playing a video game on an internet can do, and in this particular case it's usually very little in terms of some long-term change. And one of the things that I sort of think about it too, like, this is sort of modeled in the game, where there can be things where your body is very directly telling you this is bad and stop doing it. If you are neglecting yourself and you are not eating, you will gain an affliction, and the affliction will turn into decrepitude, and if you run out of health, you will die. But this game has a lot about the wrong set of circumstances coming in and pushing you towards other things, and it's not some failing that you did. It is something that has happened to you and has resulted in completely unnecessary misery that requires considerable effort to get out of. So this is one of these cases where I'm a little curious if you have seen therapists before, you've been diagnosed, prescribed pills, but then you fell off when you couldn't really pay for it anymore. I mean, Green Whisper, definitely, I appreciate your donation in that, but I 100% should definitely take care of yourself. I don't know what Twitch's policy is as far as bits or something like that's concerned, but obviously it sounds like you're in a job now, so I definitely hope that you're able to to get back onto that. But I definitely think getting a chance to have that medication again is definitely, if it's something that you need, or at the very least to be able to talk with somebody about whether or not it's still required, is definitely something you should go down. Elopoli describes how he came to make repeated visits to a dream wood via what he calls the silver dreams. Trying to think your way to the wood, he explains, is like thinking your way to being in love. But I did find a secret that has helped. But you didn't like how the pills mess with your mind. Is there anything around him, or is he just standing surrounded? Oh, sorry, you're talking about the dream. Finding an appropriate therapist is a bit like... Yeah, I've never actually seen a therapist. Well, I actually had to go to a speech therapist. Believe it or not, I actually had a speech impediment when I was little. But yeah, I would definitely... It sounds like Cash Nomo has got some decent advice here, Green Whisper. Like, I think if for whatever reason the medication wasn't working for you, I definitely think a conversation about an appropriate treatment is something, because this is it. I mean, you're obviously very pleasant to have inside of chat, and you're somebody who, if anything, just as a human being, you know, we should care about how, you know, your well-being, how you're doing. And so I think being able to hear from somebody who's in a position to be able to work with you and to be able to, you know, help you get on a path to something, you know, whatever it is that you need, would be something that we all benefit from. I'm going to take a minute. Let's follow the barber's warning. I know this dream. A road crests a hilltop and the air is silver bright. I could cut out a lock of hair before I sleep to honor a power of the wood. I didn't read the barber's warning text before. A power of the wood enjoys the separation of the lock from the scalp. For attention, burn it. For opportunity, bury it. Oop, and I've got something I do with my study, so let's do... Let's go for the new stuff. Wrapped in the King. Detailed accounts of the secret bacchanals and ecstatic dances observed in the necropolises and graveyards in southern Europe, in Egypt, and in Anatolia. The author is a self-confessed ghoul, an eater of buried flesh. He claims to have witnessed the dances while feasting. The dances draw from the traditions of the mysteries of the cults of Isis and Sybil. Yeah, I think it's Sybil. But both include both symbolic and literal flayings, and the human heart is always central in the rites. The author punctuates his accounts with queasy, sensuous descriptions of his own interrupted feasts. There is, so this is there's a few new characters, Melemony. So I am playing, first of all, the Dancer, which is new legacy inside the game. This is actually a great opportunity. And by the way, Green Whisper, if you need something else from me, do feel free to speak up. But I'm also going to take a minute to answer some of these questions about the game. So, in addition to the Dancer legacy, which is a totally new legacy inside the game, there is a new I Will Call patron, Sulochana Amavasaya, the laconic, energetic, bright-eyed, unblinking owner of the Ecdysis Club. We also have two benefactors, so we've got Lord Timothy Monday, an elegant gentleman with sad eyes, receding hair, and a tendency to fits of friendly, braying, nervous laughter. He will no longer touch strong drink. And we've also got Nicole, fourth Marchioness of Stanford, a cautious, clever woman with close-set eyes and excellent skin for her age. She has long managed her own financial affairs and donates dutifully to charity. So these are some of the new characters that we've seen. These benefactors are making sort of demands on my time and my abilities, but they pay well. My current ambition or my temptation is change, and I have reached Leaf. And then I am a dancer, which means that I am both working at the Gaiety Club, but I also have a contract at the Ecdysis Club, and you'll see what happens there as long as I'm able to hang on to one of this restlessness. One of them will turn to despair, unfortunately. Can't do much about that, but... Green Whisper said, you'd found the perfect one who helped you realize you suffered from imposter disorder and helped you start overcoming it. But that was through the college you attended, and when you dropped out, you couldn't see him anymore. You couldn't find anyone who was like him and his help, and eventually you just stopped looking. Is it at all possible that you can contact them for a recommendation, Green Whisper? Because it sounded, I mean, obviously you said it seemed like it was something that was working well for you. But I really don't know how these things work, so I don't know if you'd be able to speak to them. Oh, they really do. One of the other things that I like quite a bit, so we heard I don't know if you were here at the time, Keshmo. Well, you've probably already run into this anyway, but like one of the things that Keshnomo's talking about is, for those of you who were here earlier, obviously you heard the description of Pope Clifton. Now that he's become a believer, you'll notice that the text has changed. Now Clifton improvises new prayers rich with solar metaphors. He still shouts like a soldier and drinks like a sailor. And as we advance him, there will be further descriptions. But yeah, well, I think that's one of the things that I've loved the most about this game, is that the level of imagination, like, as you say, it gets your imagination going. There is just enough suggestion that you fill in the blank. And that's really on display when I start talking about... I mean, again, this is the thing about the tangents, right? Is that it's not... You guys have been... Most of you have been watching me long enough to know that it doesn't take a lot to set me off. But it's not like this stuff... It's not that I just randomly like, you know, talking about other stuff. A lot of it really is driven out of this... you know, this game and some of the things that come up out of it. And I sort of liked comparing it to the fact that, like, I really like listening to radio dramas. And one of the reasons for that is my mom had cancer when I was a kid. And because where I lived, the treatment options were not that great in terms of the city that I lived. And so we would have this couple of hour trip to Vancouver, sort of to, you know, either to visit her when she was in the hospital, or you know, to go for the treatment. And so my dad would listen to books on tape, and I mean, some of it was like Jeffrey Archer and stuff like that. I was kind of little, so it wasn't, you know, it wasn't exactly my thing, not my tempo. But there would occasionally be BBC. So this is one reason why I really like British comedies. I love the thick of it. But he would listen to stuff like Yes Minister. And again, it's a little older for me, but, or Rumpole of the Bailey is another example. It would be... So it's not like the stuff that you would pick if you were a kid, but, you know, if the game start, you know, the battery only lasts so long on a Game Boy. So actually I've got one sitting in front of me right now. I don't know how the charge is on it though. But yeah, you know, once you've exhausted all other options, sometimes you just need to sit and listen to what your dad's listening to, and if it winds up being Rumpole of the Bailey or Yes Minister or anything like that, one really cool thing about radio drama is that it gets your imagination going, and this is one of the reasons why I really became attracted to Cultist Simulator, is that it's in terms of games, there is enough present and there that you could just sit down and you can move cards on the table and you have a jolly good time, and it looks pretty and there's good writing, and, you know, you can appreciate this totally at a surface level if you want. But there's so much more if you engage your mind. There is just that nice, it takes you just far enough, and then it leaves that last line. And it's why the romance is such an interesting take that they did on this, because so far they seem to have done a great job of that as well. And so it's the reason why, you know, there's a reason why I've dedicated so much time to this game on the cast and why I'm not too worried about talking about the concepts that come up around it, because it is one of the better ways to describe the playing of this game. Your mind is active while you're playing it, and whether you're thinking about the lore or whether you're thinking about how it relates to your own life or any of these other things, like that's part of the experience. Just like I consider, you know, the interactions with Weather Factory on Twitter to be part of the experience. So it's great stuff. And like I said, it's really the first time that I've sort of felt the radio drama style approach to a game. I don't know if that was, no, that has to be a conscious decision. Again, not that the analogy that they would make is radio, but I'm pretty sure that that's what they're going for. How you doing, Nubasaur? Good to see you. Something you think that has been lost in a lot of modern gaming with trillions of polygons and photorealism is engaging your imagination. Yeah, I mean, I do. So, Kashnoma, one thing I will say to that, I quite enjoyed Battlefield 1, and the point I tried to make on that one was the higher graphical fidelity does allow for a type of visual storytelling which previously had only been available to cinema. So there's a great example in one of the short stories, I think it's the first one of Mud and Blood or something like that. And there is this opening where you see sort of a chauffeur, and he's kind of just, you know, he's got his gloves on, his hands on the steering wheel, and then he takes his hands and he looks at his palms on these perfect white gloves, and then it cuts to his, like, his dirty, bloody work gloves from his tank, and then, you know, cut to the face, cut to the preceding moment where he's detailed to a tank, Bess, who's basically the main character of that story. Now, I like that a lot. There's a lot that's packed into that moment, and it's relying on the fact that we have become very sophisticated in terms of our ability to understand images. And so I think the level, like the technological progress in terms of games, in terms of their ability to render images, does still allow us to realize interesting story moments. But clearly these are not things that are available to independent developers yet. It would be very hard to imagine Weather Factory producing something of the graphical quality that you'd get from like a Naughty Dog or something like that. And more importantly, there's an incentive for independent game developers or small studios to compete on the sort of originality level, that they want to sort of carve a deep niche for themselves. And I mean, Weather Factory is a perfect example of this, because there's no other game like Cultist Simulator out there. Like, it's a problem. How do you describe this game to people? You know, I like to compare it to The Sims because I think it's actually mechanically the best comparison, but holy crap, like that doesn't tell you anything. So, I think one of the things that's happened is that because it's so much, you know, you can really appreciate the impressive visuals of a AAA game, even if the story's not quite there in a lot of cases. You can, I think sometimes people feel, I don't even think they feel like they can get away with it. I just think that our expectations for AAA games are sometimes a little bit lower. And maybe sometimes we don't recognize the quality of what's going on there when it's apparent. And sometimes because there's so many people and so many individual things that go into the creation of such games, things that were originally good ideas aren't realized as well as they can be. And then of course this is the thing about independence, is sometimes it works really well and you get a Cultist Simulator, and then sometimes somebody has great ambition but isn't able to realize it, and we usually don't hear of those games. So But yeah, I mean, this is the big thing, is that if you don't have the crutch of graphical fidelity, you definitely need to deliver somewhere else, and Weather Factory did so in spades. So I know Green Whisper had something to say. You lost all contact with him when you went to look him up after college you attended. He apparently didn't work there anymore. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I'm glad that it's at least helping to talk about it, Green Whisper. Like I said, no streamer should ever have any delusions about what they can do in something like this, but I figure the people here are very nice. I'm very lucky to have the people who I do participate in chat, especially when sometimes the game gets kind of put on hold. But also too, like, it costs nothing to listen. And like I said, you've been very pleasant. You've all been very pleasant. You know, Captain Shield, Melemony, Kashinomo, Ego Akaran, SE Knight. You know, we've got plenty of people who have been very pleasant to have in chat, and you know, I feel like the least I can do is at least listen, even if I can't do something to make it better. I sometimes think, you know, it is quite literally the least that I can do. Like, what, I'm definitely not too good to listen to somebody who needs to say something. So, oh yeah, no, I definitely, I also didn't take that as you saying that, like, you know, all games must look like they were made in the 1990s. It's just, I always like to bring the second, like, the other side of that coin, because it's more of an idea of what, like, so I think what's happening that's interesting in the AAA space is that they've been able to leverage a visual vocabulary that we've not been able to really engage with until the games have started to become better. Whereas on the independent level, oh, the Eyes of Sin, thank you very much for that host. I think at the independent level, we've been seeing sort of a pushing out of the boundaries specifically of what a game narrative can accomplish. And that's the cool thing about Cultist Simulator, is that I didn't think something like this was possible until I played it. And like even early on, when there wasn't a lot in that alpha, it's like I had a really good idea of how it would scale. I didn't imagine this. This thing is way beyond what I was expecting when I was thinking on that. But that's why I'm not a game developer, because my imagination's too small. But yeah, it's neat. It's really interesting to see how both levels, or both ends of the spectrum, have been able to realize better forms of storytelling. And in some cases, you can say it's technological progress because, you know, this thing's made in Unity. Imagine the number of things that didn't have to be made for this game because they used Unity. And then at the top end, because they're able to make their own engines or able to invest a lot inside of them. You know, the Frostbite engine obviously is used for just about everything that EA does. You know, they are pushing a certain type of story that's allowing them to realize some techniques that previously hadn't been in gaming. So I think the story generation of RimWorld would be better than The Sims for this game. I've not actually played RimWorld, so I don't know the comparison, SE Knight. Yeah, no problem, Eyes of Sin. I'm always very happy to have you here. City says that one main problem with AAA games is that production has become so massive that they need to put in all sorts of filler to a point where they all resemble each other. I mean, it's kind of interesting because games that don't do that seem to be criticized. You know, I believe the complaint about The Order, whether it was fair or not, was that there was not enough to do for the price. But it's hard. Like, it's very... I know AAA is a very convenient label for these kinds of discussions. Oof. That's definitely not the thing I wanted to see happen. Bleak thoughts have emerged. But it's really, like... you know, I do have a bit of a taste for first-person shooters, so, you know, Battlefield, oh, this is Grail. Wolfenstein, you know, are two that I've rather enjoyed. I don't see as many similarities to them as other people might, but this is also a taste thing. Like, I think the thing I love the most is that there's enough games like Cultist Simulator out there that you could have a perfectly enjoyable time with video games and never touch a AAA title. I would be a little sad if somebody only ever got to experience the big budget end of gaming, because there's just so many interesting things happening at the, you know, at the lower end, that it'd be a shame if somebody didn't get a chance to see all of that. But let's throw the Smith's Secret back into the problem. We definitely, so I mean, it's my home here, Green Whisper. I think whatever you need to say, feel welcome to say it. I don't think you are a whiny kid, and I think it is better to discuss these things not to. If you don't think that there's anything more to say, or anything else you don't want to say, that's another matter. You know, it's totally up to you how much or how little you would like to share. And I should respect both of those decisions. But I've not gotten the impression from anyone here that they're particularly annoyed about you addressing it. And more importantly, I don't think we should be thinking about it in those terms. If you need somebody to talk to, we definitely have some people here. I was meaning to sort of talk of some of my own sort of feelings and that, but I actually think there are people with more experience and a little bit more wisdom in this regard, who had better things to say. So if I seemed a bit distant on it, it was more so because this is probably a case where I probably should be listening more than talking. But yeah, I mean, don't, if you don't have anything more you'd like to say on it, like, that's fine and I respect that, but please don't feel like this is a place where you have like don't feel like you have a limit in terms of what you can say. Like Captain Shield said, you know, we don't think you're whining, you're doing something that's healthy by talking. And I don't think anybody wants you to feel like you're not able to express something that you should. So he says, 70 euros price tag, but at the same time, you'd love to hear what indie games take out mechanics in order to focus on what the game is really about. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a case too. Like if you look at a lot of sequels to indie games, there are definitely more and interesting features. So like if you look at Hand of Fate 2, it's obviously it's a much bigger game than the original Hand of Fate. And I sometimes wonder, you know, how much would Hand of Fate have looked like its sequel if they had been given a bigger budget? I mean, not that Morgan, I mean, like, obviously the company that made it has got some established talent, so I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure they were resource constrained, because I think everybody is. But, you know, it'd be interesting to know that if there wasn't that kind of constraint. And so this is why I'm so interested in the EA Originals series, right? Because you've got A Way Out, you've got Sea of Solitude, you've got Unravel 2, and there's another one that I'm sure I'm forgetting. This is an example of some independent creators who are being given a little bit of a bigger budget, like a studio backing. It's kind of like when Hollywood opened stuff like Fox Searchlight, Warner Independent, and stuff like that. And there were some really good movies that came out of that. I think the last couple of Academy Award winners have actually come out of those former boutique divisions. Yeah, no, don't worry about it. And again, Green Whisper, like I said, it's my house, so we can talk about whatever we want. But yeah, like I said, it's I 100% want to leave it in your hands, because the only thing I will say is I do not want you walking away from here with the impression that you can do anything other than talk about what's on your mind. I'm definitely not going to tell you it's the best way to deal with your problems. I'm not going to tell you that this should be a substitution for professional help if you feel you would benefit from that. But I'm obviously going to live with the here and now and the fact that you're in my channel, and it seems that being able to talk about these things made you feel better than you were at the very beginning. And so if you need to talk, definitely feel free to do so. And if it makes you feel any better, if I feel like something, you have seen that if things are going in a direction that I'm not comfortable with or I don't think are appropriate with the channel, I speak up. I don't have a problem with that because I think most people here can behave like adults and understand when things are not going the right way. And if I've made a mistake, I like to think that I'm willing to admit that. So if your concern is that I'm secretly bothered by some of the things that you're doing and I'm just too polite to say it, if I feel that something is going beyond what the stream can handle or it's sort of dragging things down, I will let you know. I will 100% commit to that. But, you know, I definitely, I would feel much better if somebody felt like there was something they needed to say, that they could just say it. Even if it's not necessarily positive to me. I mean, I hear a lot, you know, just shut up and play the game. And it's not like they're wrong. But you know, you weigh what you have in the time that you have it. And in this particular case, you know, like I said, the very least I can do is listen, and it is definitely not a burden or anything like that. We all have our own life experiences, right, Green Whisper? So if you want me to give you the more mild version of it, I can say you have not done anything appalling, and so you get credit for that. If you'd prefer the reductive version of what I said. The road ducks into the trees. Pale wings move deep in the wood. I am stumbling over roots now. It is tempting to drop to all fours to avoid the low branches. The moon passes behind black leaves, though her fingers remain in my hair. I will not forget the way to this place. So let us travel the way of the wood, because we have been waiting for a while to get into the manses. So if I have enough passion, I can walk the dream road to the wood. If I have the right knowledge, I might be able to find a way beyond it. I definitely don't think I have that, so. But wrapped in the king. As these greater feasts, a black pig is always crowned as king before its slaying. On this occasion, its heart was weighed in the balance against a knot of feathers, and its skin became a cape for the officiant. Its flesh was left for the crows, but I must confess my interest was not in its carcass, but in the perfumed flesh of the milliner laid fresh in the earth. By the way, guys, I know again I've sort of failed to keep things on track in terms of the gameplay and that, but I am gonna have to call it in about 15 minutes. And part of that's because I want to finish a blog before the end of the night. I've got about less than an hour to write it, so I probably won't be able to fulfill the like at midnight by the end of the month, but that's fine because I did write something earlier on. But I do have a couple of things that I need to do by the end of the night, so I'm going to be a little bit stricter on the timing. I wanted to give fair warning of that. Okay, now the study. We've got the waking chant. Who could hear this and remain unmoved? The sleeping, the dead, the earth and the sky. Use this in a rite with Byzantine tinct or a meteoric bullet, or other resources of equal power to summon a percussagant. So, I need to make some decisions in terms of studying. It wouldn't hurt to combine up some of this vitality because there's an outside chance that I can actually combine these into lessons learned. We are generating or spinning off a fair amount of why can't I say words? Of vitality, but I'm going to be able to get at least one more cycle of study done with that. So what? Let's read another new book. Kittling Ripe and Mollywarp's Grave and Other Stories, a lusciously illustrated tome of loosely connected children's stories. Few of them are remotely suitable for children. The protagonist, a speechless cat thing called Kittling Ripe, performs a series of elaborate rites to rescue members of her extended family, culminating in the resurrection of her other grandmother, Moldywarp. Should see if I can do something about the buzzing in the brain at the Ecdysis Club, but I'm definitely gonna have to get a little lucky with the timings. Okay, there's something tonight that almost happens, a gathering thunder, a moment when the scent of the mountain pine freshens the air. We remove everything except the masks, and all that occurs is applause. Add a little more heart to achieve something more. The further advanced your desire, the more heart you will need. Yeah, so kinda thought that it wouldn't turn out, but so Ecdysis Club is closed for now. Got our contract back. We've got funds and a silver spin tray. Oh my god, what's happening on that coin? Are you allowed to show that on Twitch? Alright, Lord Monday needs some attention. My benefactor would be delighted if I'd offer a private performance for a small and refined audience. They'll invite me to dinner afterwards and of course offer suitable gifts in return for my time. I need to figure out a way to get some contentment that doesn't involve drugs, but let's keep going to Moorlands because books are a wonderful substitute for happiness in my own case. Yeah, there is no way we're turning that buzzing in the brain to anything but definitely gonna need to beg for my job back. What else? Skeleton songs. God damn, I've got so many books. Doing good for money though. I'm actually surprised how lucrative it is to be a dancer. Okay, so that's good to know that moth turns to restlessness. Tonight my benefactor's full of energy. I should be too. Restlessness generates energy, right? Right? If they get bored of me, I'm gonna be very upset. Mansis time! Okay, so we've got an occult fragment, Temple of the Wheel, or the Well. Let's go. I always go to the Well first, so this time we'll go to the Temple of the Wheel. Ooh! Oh wait, that doesn't matter though, because we already had it to... we already had a 2-heart. The toes tap, all is brisk, all is well. Second order influence, apparent to the perceptive, instantly recognizable to the adept. You're getting so much money from dancing because you have the legs for it. They don't pay as well if you're an old cop. I had a story to tell from school, but I'm not going to. But it may be related to my dancing. I am the percussigant. When the snake witch killed the stag, Kittling snatched one of its eyes. When the dry witch killed the sow, Kittling stole a cup of its blood. Then she took them to the place of the place Moldywarp lay buried, and she shook out her hair and she began to dance. We've got a wood whisper. Lie awake and listen. The wind speaks in the branches. The house cries out in its sleep. These are the roads that chaos ride. Speak this over a corpse in a rite, and with the winter influence present, and the corpse will rise. You need good legs to dance. Hey Chalk, you think you'd have a chance of making a career out of it? Eyes of Sin, not only would you make a career out of it, but I would feel terrible because the only reason I couldn't be your benefactor would be there'd be so many other more qualified ones in front of you, including Nicole, the Marchioness of Stanford, who I am about to lose in 21 seconds. Can you dance your name? I don't think I quite follow, Ego. By the way, I don't know if I said hi to you, but hello. I know there was somebody who said hi, and I was meaning to say reply to that, and I didn't, so sorry. Alright, so I'm going to try and turn this into a lesson learned just in case. This is more of a preservation move. Now the real shame here is that I would normally want to go to the... Okay, well that might have paid off actually. I would normally want to go to the Gaiety on the chance that I could nullify the restlessness. The catch is that if I neglect Nicole, she is going to... she's gonna give up. So I know I can get my job back at the Gaiety. I can't restore things with Nicole though. So after the performance, I'm flushed and I'm perspiring, but my benefactor seems to like that. They have brought me a glittering little something. So there's my fatigue. Lots of money. Okay, let's see if a wood whisper is enough. So lie awake and listen, the wind speaks in the branch. Yes, we read that, so. Well, that's interesting. It doesn't give you more details. Oh wait, no, I don't think it ever did though. I think it usually tells you if you're on the right track, so. I will hold off for now. Well, I'm glad chat's had my back all night, so that's not news to me, Ego, but sorry about that. I'm glad to know it was at least you, because then I can apologize to you. If it was somebody who was like quietly resenting me for not saying hi, I'd feel genuinely bad about that. Okay, so we've got the Burning of the Unburnt God, which will give us our first ritual if we're so inclined. I think I might as well just keep spending money at Moreland's shop, even if I'm not on top of getting the getting the books read. At least I kind of get them. I get them in my possession. Okay, more vitality. That's good news. Another acquaintance. Another Smith's secret. Oh wait, that's the same Smith's secret. I am a fool. And we've got Slee. Craig Slee, the astronomer and avant-garde poet, has developed an interest in the esoteric as his health wanes. You may be able to recruit this acquaintance as a follower. So I think we might as well... Oh, here's an idea. I should have used this to get rid of these influences a while ago. Where is my cult? There's the temple unceasing. So. Slee, you can dance if you want to. This one is ready. Alright, System Chocolate Chat, thanks for keeping you company. Time to game and dine with your better half. Thank you very much to your better half for loaning you out to us for so long. I hope I get a chance to see you again. Actually, in particular, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with Green Whisper 1213. You definitely picked up on something that I am not as equipped to discuss, and I don't have as much of my own experience to draw from. So in particular, I think you've made somebody feel a lot better tonight, and I tremendously appreciate that. So it's not lost on me what you did, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do that, because I know it's never called on people, but I really do appreciate when people do that. So have a good one, and I hope I get a chance to see you again. Yeah, and that's a real shame. So I don't know, Green Whisper, if this makes you feel any better, but I can tell you that I think very highly of the Eyes of Sin. And I have done my best to communicate as much, but I also sort of appreciate that these things are not things that you can just sort of sit down and reason your way through. That sometimes, you know, the feeling does override what other people are just saying to you. Like, words are words. They don't necessarily translate into... they don't necessarily override the other thing that you're feeling in the moment, but I can definitely tell you that if somebody like Eyes of Sin feels that way, you are in very good company, and I can also definitely say it is entirely possible to be a very talented and gifted individual who genuinely does make things better for people and makes people happier and has contributed a lot, it's entirely possible to have all these wonderful qualities and still not feel like you're, I don't know, worth something. I will definitely not leave my friends behind, the Eyes of Sin. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I know, again, the last couple of sessions have definitely, I've done a bad job of keeping focused on the game, but as long as you can tolerate my digressions, that's good. But I actually really appreciate when people say that they came from YouTube, because I'm trying to do a better job of making sure that I keep up to date with the stream, or the updates and that. But have a great night. I'm probably going to be done. Oh, I'm actually at the 3-hour mark myself. Okay, guys, I'm going to do another rotation of things. I'm going to see where we're sitting, just so I can sort of set the table for next week. And I'll wish you all a happy Halloween, but I do need to get some of my other tasks done. So, for those of you who weren't clear on what I just did here, this is a way that I could annihilate the restlessness influence. I actually think I'm going to start keeping some of my things like hangers on around just to be able to deal with some of these things going away. But because there is heart influence in a restlessness, you can use that. You can use that as part of recruitment, and so that's how I'm going to keep that from becoming dread. Damn it. And further feeding my despair. Now, I still need to get some kind of contentment to deal with it. And I mean, this is one of the big problems. I don't know if this is intentional for the dancer, but this is actually one thing I notice, is that look at how often I'm using all of these things. I've got 2 benefactors and a job which I'm potentially going to lose that I need to use my work for, which doesn't give me lots of time to do painting. There's very few other things that will generate contentment for me right now. Perhaps I should go to the Ecdysis Club as a patron. That will help me out. But yeah, because there's so many demands on my time, it's very easy to neglect my character's mental health. And so this is translating into the fact that I've had these despair runs lasting for a longer time. And the best that I can sort of do is keep the wolf at bay rather than really deal with the problem. And I'm curious if that was a specific choice made about the dancer in particular. Tonight my benefactor is full of energy, and I should be too. Alright, we've got the Orchid Transfigurations. I still don't have Latin, so that doesn't help me too much. But I am going to take a quick minute and see whether or not I can find contentment at the Ecdysis Club. The entrance is lost beneath soft drapes of crimson cinnabar and intercardinite. Above the door, the club motto, Ingi rum imus noc teet consumi murigni. It has been rendered as, into the night circle we fly until the fire enjoys us. Okay, let's go back to the well. Very welcome vitality. Maybe I will extend the playthrough until I can get those that last level of health. The well in the wood is sacred to the Grail, the hour that hungers, and the velvet, the hour that guards secrets. Tonight as I approached, it heaved with the velvet's moss, struggling waves of deep and vibrant green, pulsing again and again from its throat. It surged around my calves, rose to my thighs, and this morning I can still feel the velvet's breath strong within me. So I need to make some. Yeah, we've got enough. We've got enough passion to keep our journeys. All right, so I've got vitality lesson learned. I'm going to preserve this vitality by combining this one here. So we may not be able to get another vitality through conventional means, but I should have enough time to do a study with one of my health. So that's going to be the plot that we launched there. Okay, let's see how we're doing. My benefactor finds me engaging. After the performance, I am flushed and perspiring, but my benefactor seems to like that. They have brought me a glittering little something. So now we'll beg for our job back at the Gaiety Club. I'm going to be a little short on passion, but not... sorry, Gaiety Theatre. I need the job back. I'll tell them that'll be different this time, and perhaps they'll understand. We're doing okay for money, so I'm not too worried about it, but... I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to take a little time away from the other tasks. The ceremony is resonant as thunder in the church. I know it well, I wrote it myself. So Slee is a lantern. Slee speaks earnestly of his theories to all who will listen. The stars as tiny wounds, the thun is a hemorrhage of the glory, or of glory. His poetry is more eccentric than ever. And here I'm going to induct the hanger-on. I know obviously I don't have an influence that I'm trying to get rid of, but it would be nice to have a heart follower. So. Hey, so we did get contentment. I've spent the evening swapping theories with a table full of charlatans, posers, and perhaps initiates. Some of these theories may even be true. Okay, so we're in good shape mentally, so we will go back and add to our library. And again, the idea here is, so if I really want to be, on the ball, I want to maximize the number of things that I do that will sort of generate heart moves. I didn't beg, not quite. So Lord Timothy should be okay. So basically I want to use as many heart resources as I can to generate more vitality, but in the worst case scenario, if I don't get anything in 26 seconds, I just study heart and then I'm good to go. So in this case we will do another private performance. Yeah, that is, I think, a good way to look at that, Green Whisper, right? Like, it's... So, like, obviously, my situation is much more minor, so, like, I wouldn't draw too much from that, but, like, I think Sin can kind of tell you that the work thing has really been getting to me. I, for some reason, have 2 vitality that I didn't even realize, so great news. And like sometimes to just keep things in perspective, like being able to recognize a minor victory or a minor accomplishment at work is the difference between feeling absolutely worthless and, you know, everything isn't terrible. So I like that you're able to, delineate between the things that are going well and the things that aren't going well. Because the big thing is that sometimes there are things that really do need to change, and sometimes there's a moment of unpleasantness in order to be able to, you know, push that kind or to motivate that kind of change. But I also, you know, I also don't necessarily think, I definitely don't subscribe to this belief that, you know, you have to burn your hand on the stove every time to learn not to put it there, but I think Captain Shield has put it well, that it's good that you're making the effort. Sorry, that really sounds, I don't know, quaint. I'm not as articulate on this as I should be. Alright. Let's go hunting for more cultists. Speak of its esoteric matters. Talking publicly about the invisible arts will attract attention. Perhaps that's what I want. So, because I was an idiot, I don't actually need to find more vitality. I just need to combine what I have already, and we'll be able to get another point of health. I've got a copy of On the White, because definitely what I need right now is more books. And of course, I'll add more. It takes time to sort the gold from the dross, the wheat from the chaff, the blood from the water. If I buy enough books, I'll find something interesting. So I can follow this peculiar rumor. It will cost me something in exploration, but it will put a little bit of a damper on on the massive book acquisitions that I've been doing. I think I'm going to go to the well, though. I want to see more of what we can get here. So this was an awareness of appetite. Every sense is heightened, every sensation deepened. That's Grail influence. Well in the wood is never dry, but it is never clear. One night might heave with crawling roots, on another it will pulse with bright moss. On nights when the full moon, its waters are choked with the fat dappled bodies of moths. Last night I saw it brimming with dark and viscous blood. Gelatinous shreds drifted on the surface, clots of grail matter. I think I'm actually going to skip the wood for now because I'm going to need some passion. Well, no, I should be okay with my patrons and such. Is there anything else I can do with Dream at the moment? Nothing that really excites me too much. So yeah, I think we will go back to the wood. I changed my mind. So the worst that can happen is I get, he asks for passion and Nicole asks for passion. But within 27 seconds, I will have one of my other passion back, which is fine by me. All right, and finally we'll get another, I just want to double check that this is correct. Yes, so I only need 3 lessons learnt, so let's combine more vitality and we will become an absolutely terrifying individual as far as strength is concerned. In my wrap-up, I am going to do a small post-mortem on this, because there's one thing I sort of like in terms of the story about this character that's being told that I haven't highlighted, just because there's usually been another thing that I want to deal with. They have an air of suppressed excitement tonight. Is my benefactor about to propose? Interesting. Okay, so it got the contentment, which we could have used before. In a moment of passion, Lord Timothy has proposed marriage. If I seize upon the moment and accept, this will transform my life and close other doors forever. Talk to his lordship before his enthusiasm wanes, or he'll feel spurned. Sorry, dude. I'm a free spirit. Gartside Sanskrit reader. That'll be helpful later, but not right now. Wait, I decided I was going to do something else with the exploration, didn't I? Right, I decided not to, so we will continue to add to the library. I will definitely tell you, Green Whisper, so that's something that I have my own experience and sort of dilemma with. It is extremely difficult in the so like when you want to like find a girlfriend or a boyfriend, or you know, basically when you want to find someone, and especially if it's been like a long dry spell, or if it's been like you've never really had that kind of a closer connection with someone, like it's the only thing that you can think about. And it's because it's worthwhile. We are very social creatures, and obviously to be able to interact with someone, especially at a deeper level, is something that is very satisfying and very, very important. But I think one of the things that is missed and is very difficult to explain, especially to like past self, or if you're in the moment, to present self that is like really focused on that one view, especially because it's sort of validation from another person, or it feels like it's validation from another person, is that the individual matters very much. That it's not just anyone will satisfy that, and even if you're particularly interested in someone, they're not being interested is actually a sufficient condition for it not being worthwhile. It's one of the things that's so difficult, right? Is that it's something that really is worthwhile pursuing, and it's very satisfying when it works out, but it's also the rarity of it working out so well that kind of makes it worthwhile that way. So it's definitely something that's very easy to feel very down about, and especially when ideas of self-worth get tied up into it. I can definitely tell you that it's something that it's very easy to make yourself feel bad about that sort of a thing. But one, it's not always necessarily something about you. And then number two, I can tell you with dead certainty that the worst thing that can happen to you is not that you're not able to make a connection with somebody who is sufficiently like-minded. There are definitely times where you can have sort of the appearance or the illusion or the, go through the motions. There are lots of ways that things cannot work out, or things can I guess the biggest thing is that it is one of these things that sort of feels like at the time that it will grant a, if I solve this, I've got it in the bag. But it is kind of an ongoing process, and there's definitely, either through my own experience or through what I've seen with others, there are definitely some cases where it's actually better that things just went apart. Yeah, you definitely don't need to think about it that way, Green Whisper. I guess the best that I can say is if I can wind up with somebody interested in me, however temporarily, anyone can. But the bigger takeaway from that is not that there's someone out there for you, because I know a lot of people hear that, and I know it's not convincing when other people hear it. But this is almost certainly more than, I'm going to go so far as say more than anything. This is one of these great examples of where people have built a certain pressure or expectation on behaving a certain way that is totally irrelevant to what's actually going on and what's actually important. Isaac Newton died a virgin, and he was proud of the fact. It's definitely one of these cases where, it's not like it's a goal or a high score in a video game. Yeah, you definitely don't need to think of it that way. And honestly, Green Whisper, I think one thing that I can definitely say, it doesn't even have to be a big on-off switch. It's not like it's, oh yeah, I gotta find the one, I'm gonna get a hole in one the first time. It's gonna be perfect. I'm gonna find the right person, and it's all gonna be great. It's a huge searching problem, Tinder makes money doing it. Bumble makes money doing it. Some people still go analog. People find each other in really weird ways. People who seem like they shouldn't be interested in each other wind up interested in each other. Some people who you'd think should have everything going for them, don't. It's definitely not a light switch of it's either super 100% exactly like in the movies or not. And I think a good majority of the experience is that people are just running around screwing up figuring out what's not for them, or maybe things were and it doesn't turn out, or even just horrible things that people do to each other. But these things will definitely come through. I think the biggest thing is that it definitely sounds like there are other pressures going on in your life. And I think it's actually good that you've recognized that there are other things going on in your life that you should deal with first. Because that's the right way to go about it. And if you find someone who it's fun to go on the journey with, that's great. And that's something that will emerge. But the best way to think about it is like making friends. I've never found it easy to make friends, but I do wind up with friends that I like a lot. And it's not bad to do. I don't know if paid services are better than, you know, than free ones. I mean, there's stuff like Plenty of Fish or whatever that are free services. I don't know if there's a difference between paid and not. Definitely feel free to do so. But like, this is the big thing, is that, you know, it's another person is not going to complete you, is I think the big lesson to take out of that. And it's I have sometimes stressed out a little bit about making friends, in the sense that it would be kind of like, I'll be honest with you, I really like board games, and since I was a kid, like, my dad would not have the time to play board games with me, and I don't have chances to play board games with other people because I don't know that many people, and I moved across the country, and again, I'm not that great at making friends. I don't think I'm particularly nasty, but like, it's not one of these things that has ever come particularly easy for me. I'm very comfortable in social situations, but in terms of a friendship, that has always been something that's challenging for me to work on. Now, I think the best way I can think about it is that it is possible to stress out about friendships, but I think people stress out about friendships a lot less than they stress out about things like finding a girlfriend or a boyfriend or losing their virginity or, you know, what have you. And in some ways I sort of think of them as comparable. If you, like, you can think of the kind of friend who, like, only visits you because you've got, like, a PlayStation 4 and a copy of Bloodborne, and it's the only way that they can play Bloodborne. Nobody wants a friend like that. Because you know that they're not really your friend. And I think people have a very clear idea in their mind about why that is not a good friendship to have. But once it, for some reason, once it becomes about the opposite sex, or the same sex, if that's, you know, your preference, when it becomes basically something, you know, resembling romantic attachment, all of a sudden that good sense that we have kind of goes away. So I don't know if that's a really good analogy, Green Whisper, but it's that might be the best way to sort of think about it. Like, it's not something you should be indifferent to, because human connection really is something valuable and worth pursuing. But I wouldn't make it a point of validation, or I wouldn't make it something that you know, because I haven't done this, I am behind in life or something like that. Yeah, Ego definitely talked a bit about regret. You know, streamers doing tabletop games on Twitch, you can join. That's a good point, Benoit. I have not actually done a lot of tabletop simulator and stuff like that. I have a lot of GMT games, which are like these nerdy war games. So like Twilight Struggle, Labyrinth, Churchill, Pericles is coming in. I'm really interested in the next war games. They're like really complicated, so it's hard to get people into them. But yeah, I should maybe be trying. I should be trying my online options. But Anyways, sorry guys. I know I said I was going to be wrapping. Oh my god, I'm so far behind, but obviously lots of stuff to cover. So really don't work out of your experience, though. It may have just been you. Well, I don't know. Like I've never tried a paid one, and the free ones, I didn't really find anyone. And then I just didn't really see much point in using them personally, but that's a statement of myself, not a... Clearly, the romantic opportunities that have emerged from Twitch have rendered all dating applications irrelevant to me. I'm going to skip the entering the wood dialogue here just because I've already read that one. Your friend on Twitch is called Lucky Luck Luke. Plays a board game called Sots the Pit with table stuff. Hang on, Swords of the Stars the Pit has a board game? I only know of that game as it's an indie from Vancouver, Kerberos. Well, you look at that. Well, I know they just recently did a first-person shooter as the Pit as well. Huh. You guys are full of surprises tonight. Alright, I'm going to write this down. An opportunity at the Gaiety Theater tonight. A sense opportunity. Where's my... It's going to be tight. I don't think it's going to work. I'm going to hold on to it for a little bit, but... Okay, study. Let's get swole, and then I'm getting the hell out of here. Blog will probably be late because I also have to do work tomorrow, but yes, I will use my passion. Now I pass between scar-barked trees, the moon passes beneath the branches, though her fingers remain in my hair. I am stumbling over roots now. It's tempting to drop to all fours to avoid the low branches. Pale wings move deep in the night. Yeah, no, I'd be interested, Benoit. I'm pretty bad at the... Ah, thank you. I wrote down the name, but I didn't realize it was the... I didn't realize there was the 2 there. Now, again, I'm a bit of a flake when it comes to online stuff, as K5 can tell you with the Stellaris session. So, but I definitely... I'll check out their channel on my free time, and we'll see if we can get something together. So... Cool. Thank you for that. Come on, come on, come on, come on. There we go. So we will turn the restlessness into... So I'm a lissome package of flesh and blood. The same self. I'm no further along my path of change. In the movements of the secret forms, I must find my lesson. Alright. When we get swole, that will be the end of the stream. I felt their eyes upon me. Afterwards, I received a gift from an admirer. Too gaudy for my tastes, but I can sell it on the second-hand market. Nicole. I'm gonna need a new patron soon. My benefactor would be delighted if I'd offer a private performance for a small, refined audience. They'll invite me to dinner afterwards and, of course, offer suitable gifts in return for my time. Ah, awesome. Thank you for that, Benoit. Alright, more Latin, which I can't use, but we will, that won't stop me from spending the mad ducats on my library. Just got done with Halloween with the kiddos. Very good to hear, K5. I'm actually, so I promised I was going to wrap up about half an hour ago, and I really have stuff I need to do. But obviously we had serious stuff to deal with in the chat. I did want to have some more gameplay go through. I totally failed in my effort to try and keep things on track, but I hope people didn't find it too distracting. there's always next week. I did say I was going to try and do a post-mortem on... I kind of forgot what I was going to say, though, but that's fine. I will... What do I want to do? I'm going to blab about the secrets. Nah. Green Whisper. Oh, there are rivals in this game, Green Whisper. And that's definitely not a statement about you. I definitely talked about more than you tonight. This is more of a reflection on some of my other diversions. I didn't need to talk about AAA gaming. Guild, this came just in time. Especially too, like mental health stuff is a theme that constantly comes throughout the game, right? The distress that I'm feeling about not fulfilling my desires, the fact that that can come at the wrong moment and sort of push you down into a particularly dark place. Like, I think all of that is very relevant towards the game, so. Oh, we go to the mantis just when I'm ripping through my... Oh, it was a heart. Alright, more vitality, because that's absolutely what I need at the moment. Again, because I really do need to wrap up, guys. I will stop here. I could carry a man across a river now, or strangle him. There are many things now that I could crush in my fists, used with 4 lessons learnt to gain even more health. And there we go. I will be dancing forever. The percussagant, in a dance-off between the percussagant and I will be the victor. Okay, what was I going to say about the dancer? I'm definitely very interested in the fact that you keep so occupied with your benefactors that you really do neglect your both your advancement, but also things like despair and that. I didn't quite realize that at the time, but I like the touch. There was something I was going to say about the dancing content itself, and I felt like I had a better understanding of like one of the ideas behind the dancer, and I was so sure of it, and then I started talking about other stuff and I'm completely lost it. I'm really annoyed at myself for doing that because I wanted to make sure that I had some other content. K5 says, you piled the kids into their rooms to dress up. You rushed around turning the house haunted. You were a ghost and bum rushed it. The bum rushed you to save mom. That's really funny. What was I gonna say? I'm definitely interested in the fact that you use these influences to advance the dance. It's the one thing I'm bad at too, because I always kept like throwing the influences away, so that's something that I need to pick up and get out of my sort of my behaviors inside of the game. I feel like there was something about the benefactors I was meaning to say though. I don't know. I will definitely say I'm very intrigued by the fact that I feel like the dancer is one of these cases where you get so busy doing other things that you really don't care of yourself. You really don't take care of yourself. And I'm interested in that. And I'm especially interested if that was a specific choice about what's supposed to be going on with that the character, because you can see it, right? You know, you've got, again, the analogy I like to draw here are the broadcasters who feel that they need to be streaming 12 hours a day every day, and if they don't do that, then they're gonna lose subs, they're gonna lose follows, and that is not a way to live your life. That is something, that level of neglect, you will feel like you can be on that treadmill for a while, and then there's going to be a day that you can't, and that's going to hit you hard, and it's going to suck. And so I sort of wonder if some ideas like that are being unpacked. And that's one thing that I find so interesting too, because I don't know if that's true of other professions. But I'm kind of repeating something that I'd already said on the Steam stream. But like trying to find our way to the Mansis, if you try to reason your way through to that thing you were supposed to say before, you won't succeed. So I think I'm just going to accept that my mind is gone. I know that as soon as I hit the stop streaming button, it's going to come to mind. But I'm also kind of hungry, to be honest with you. So let me just leave it at this. There were some really kind donations, there were some really kind subscriptions, and I know I've kind of been shirking a bit in terms of my ability to talk about the game and push it forward. I've been pausing the game more and talking about things which are sometimes only tangentially related to the game. And I can't necessarily promise that I will stop that, but I will try and do a better job of specifically talking about things in the Dancer that I'm finding interesting and some of the plans that I'm going through, like how I'm expanding up my health and how I'm going to try and get to these next levels of things like this. I haven't uploaded the Steam stream, so repeat all you want. Yeah, I will be sure to upload those tomorrow. But with that in mind, I do like sharing this game with you guys, and I do appreciate how good of an audience you are. And that is not just to the people on Twitch who are live and I'm speaking with right now, but that does also extend to you, especially if you're one of those people who really does watch my videos all the way to the end on YouTube. I am increasingly conscious of your presence, and I know I don't do a great job of giving you the sort of stuff that you look for on YouTube. And I do want to get better at that, and it is going to be a longer journey, but it is one that you guys have definitely made worthwhile. So I thank you for your patience in that regard. And I read all the comments, I try to respond to all of them, and I appreciate you doing that, because commenting on videos is actually one of the ways that these videos get identified. But with that in mind, I also wanted to say, especially because we chatted a lot about, you know, feeling satisfied with life, or sources of distress, some mental health issues and such. Please don't ever feel, there's definitely a problem of people implying that they are capable of taking on issues that are not theirs to do so, and I don't want to be one of them. I am never going to be I'm never going to be a substitute for proper help. I'm not even necessarily the best person to listen to, because I'm playing video games on the internet, so I'm already going to be distracted. But I also don't want you guys to feel scared about speaking about things that matter to you. You know, like I said, the very least that I can do is listen. I really do hope that things get better. You know, for those of you that are not feeling 100%, and even if you didn't speak up, and you're just listening to the conversation that was going on, I do hope that things turn up for you. And if talking helps, don't hesitate to reach out, because I definitely know I've had people who I wasn't expecting to be able to talk to. And I was able to, and it, I wasn't expecting it, and it really helped a lot. So, if I can be that for someone, great. I don't have very high hopes of me being able to do that, but I do definitely want it to be that. Again, it's no substitute for getting proper help with these things. But I don't want that to be an excuse for me to turn around and say, so don't talk about that. If it is something that will help you feel better, speak up. And the people here have been definitely very, very good at sharing their own experiences, and hopefully talking will put you on a path to finding things better. And if some of you have your own experience in terms of finding the right way to handle this as a broadcaster or a streamer or something like that, I know there's a problem. There have definitely been people who've sort of been cashing in on this sort of thing. I personally know people who I think go a little too far in terms of making claims that they really shouldn't be. And I don't want to do that. But I also don't want to be indifferent to where people find themselves. But my own issues aside, my own inability to navigate these waters, I do want to thank you all for being patient with me. I also want to thank you for being open with me. This is the sort of stuff that it's an interesting experience, especially when it's live. And the fact that you guys are spending your time with me, even when I'm not always being the most entertaining, does mean a lot. And especially when it's come to the support that I've experienced tonight. So, Cultist Simulator really does seem to bring out the best in people. So if you haven't picked it up yet, do support Weather Factory. They've made a wonderful game. And the Dancer is a ton of fun to play, even if I haven't advanced that far in. So, anyways, guys. I can't. Oh God, ego. Thank you for doing that very nice thing. I do hope you enjoy the emotes for the month, Green Whisper. I am totally done for. I am now past midnight and I didn't even start the writing. I might just pack it in and get some sleep because I definitely need to be on top of things for work tomorrow. But yeah, guys, thank you very much for hanging out. I'll see you next Wednesday for more Cultist Simulator. And I'll be back on Friday. It'll probably be Mass Effect again, but I'm considering on opening my horizons in that regard. So have a good one, guys, and we will see you on Friday or next week if you're only here for Cultist Simulator. Oh, I forgot. I gotta host somebody. Let's host... I don't get to host this guy. He always hosts me. So, Octavian Zero. You're very kind, K5. I appreciate that. Octavian Zero is someone who Eyes of Sin. The blue belt. Thank you. I know you probably were a lurker, but thank you for saying so much. That it means a lot, especially when people break the silence to do that. So Octavian Zero is a Path of Exile streamer. He's a friend of the Eyes of Sin. He has been very supportive of my stream, especially when he's finished. You know, he's somebody who usually gets a couple hundred viewers, and he's actually stopped by in the past. So I'd love it if you guys would come along. He makes Path of Exile look very flashy. I still have no idea what the hell's going on in that game, but he's a really nice guy and has been very supportive of my stream, and I don't get a chance to host him as much as I want to. So we are going to send it over to Octavian's place. So have a good night, guys. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the kind words, and we'll see you on Friday.